Chapter 21 Decomposition. Early the next morning, Lin Xiao was woken up by a series of crisp ringtones. He woke up in a daze and turned on his wrist wheel. The projection of the young and beautiful mother appeared in front of him. Jin Yunju smiled and reached out and rubbed the confused son's head, took out a small delicate box and handed it to him, saying, "Son, this is what your father prepared for you. In addition, after this final exam, whether you are going to go to the college or the war, you'd better make a decision early, and we will prepare for you earlier." Academy stream or war stream? Lin Xiao hesitated for a while and said, "War flow." The so-called academy flow and war flow refers to a choice that all students who have newly opened up the divine realm must make after the first year of adaptation. The so-called academy flow means that students pay attention to the development of beliefs within the divine realm in their subsequent development. The war stream means that students pay attention to the development of the family's combat effectiveness in the follow-up development. This thing is difficult to explain in professional terms, but it can be described in a simple way, that is, the academy generally stays in some safe planes after graduation, focusing on defense. The war stream is responsible for entering some unexplored dangerous planes and even the new crystal wall system, conquering and plundering other planes, and fighting the indigenous gods in the plane head-on. To put it bluntly, the academy stream is equivalent to the civilian jobs in the army, and the war stream is the combat troops on the front line. In this way, the growth methods of the two schools naturally have their own emphasis. Classes are divided according to grades and directions. Generally speaking, students of the college and war lines will not be divided into the same class. Of course, these two schools are only a direction. It does not mean that if you follow the academy flow, you will definitely stay in a safe place to farm, and the war flow does not just go to the battlefield. It's just that there are very few such people, and if they say it, they will be despised by others. If you want to ask Lin Xiao which direction to go in, he will of course say the war stream. Although the danger is high and the death rate is high, the war stream is more powerful. With the same level of godhead, the war stream must be stronger than the academy stream and can go further. The mother had no objection to his choice, just gently stroked his cheek, leaned down and kissed, and said, "Child, Mom respects your choice." The mother left, leaving behind a box containing unknown cards and a lip print. After wiping his face, he excitedly jumped onto the bed holding the box, opened it, soft golden light shone through it, and there were 4 cards inside, all 5-star cards. As expected of my dad, awesome. 5-star species card. Black back null rare summons 300 black back nulls at one time. Note: half male and half male. 5-star resource card. Large swarm of shallow sea fish normal summons 5 large random shallow sea fish swarms at one time. 5-star species reproduction card rare *2. Species fertility rate plus 300%, survival rate plus 300%, duration 10 years. Note: this card cannot be stacked with effect cards of the same type, and only one card can be used at a time. From these 4 cards, you can see Dad's thoughts. Although the Null is also rated as a low-level race like the Murloc, the Null is far stronger than the Murloc in terms of individual combat power. In the early stage, neither the Divine Domain nor the Divine Nature can carry the medium or higher race, and it is the most cost-effective low-level race. 1. Wait for him to load God's Domain. Release the black back null, and use 2 breeding cards in a row to breed enough nulls before the final exam in one go, and then cooperate with the existing Murlocs to get a good grade in the final exam. His father's plan is very suitable for his current situation, but Lin Xiao doesn't think so. He has better plans. 4 new 5-star cards, plus the original 2, totaled 6, enough for him to implement his plan. Put away the cards and enter the God's Domain login cabin to return to the God's Domain. In addition to the God's Domain card, a total of 7 cards are lined up. Different grades emit different gloss levels. First of all, he took out the God's Domain card, which could not be used to decompose and fuse. Load. With his light cry, the Divine Realm card collapsed into a stream of golden light and flew out into the void. In the next second, there was a rumbling sound in his ear. Lin Xiao's thoughts disappeared, and he reappeared to the far left of the Divine Realm. This was originally a long and narrow beach. It turned out to be an endless beach phantom. An invisible film of light blocked it from moving forward. But at this moment, the beach suddenly began to boil, the sand on the edge jumped, and the beach phantom began to twist, deform, and then shattered and fell like glass, revealing the black land behind the phantom. As the illusion gradually shattered, it was like slowly rolling back a piece of cloth covering the beach, revealing inch by inch of black land until the power of the God's Domain card was exhausted, and a piece of black land with a length of 3.5 kilometers and a width of just over a kilometer grew out of thin air on the far left of the God's Domain. It is reflected in the entire God's Domain. That is, the area of the God's Domain has changed from the previous 5 kilometers east-west, 3.5 kilometers north-south, to more than 6 kilometers east-west, and still 3.5 kilometers north-south, and he put the whole new land on it. The left side of God's Domain is merged with the area where the Murlocs are active. In God's Domain, the fish people didn't feel anything unusual at first, and only Lin Xiao, the Lord of God's Domain, could feel the vibration caused by expanding God's Domain. It was not until an hour after the entire God's Domain card was fully fused that a Murloc happened to pass by the edge of the original world crystal wall and suddenly found that the invisible barrier here had disappeared, and he walked into this new land in surprise. Then he turned around and ran back to the tribe and shouted, attracting more Murlocs to come over curiously. Lin Xiao ignored the shock of the fish people, and only made sure that the Divine Domain card was successfully merged and returned to his divine country. He has more important things to do now. First of all, put away the bison herd and the large shallow sea fish card. These two cards cannot be used. No matter whether the idea of waiting can be realized or not, these two cards cannot be decomposed, and now there is a shortage of food in God's Domain. Reaching out his hand, a little bit of light flew out and turned quickly, outlining the outline of a Rubik's Cube, which quickly turned into a solid body. His eyes fell on the three cards. First, he took out the Goblin Tribe card and put it into the Rubik's Cube. As his mind moved, the Rubik's Cube began to rotate. The origin of blood, Goblin Race Brand, Goblin Bear Race Brand. Then he stretched out his hand and picked up the black-backed null card, spun it around in the palm of his hand, and threw it in with gritted teeth. Chapter 22 Fusion Recommendation, Reward. There are only two parts of this card, the pure blood origin and the racial imprint of the black-backed null. Then, since it was two 5-star species reproduction cards, they were directly disassembled, and the two threads of reproduction rules were extracted and put aside first. I don't know if it was an illusion or not, he felt that the power of good fortune in the decomposition of the card did not seem to be as strong as before. In this way, there are a total of 4 pure blood origins in the Magic Cube, a Snake Human Race Brand, a Murloc Race Brand, a Goblin Race Brand, a Bear Goblin Race Brand, and a Black-backed Null. Racial Branding, 2 Rules of Reproduction. What Lin Xiao has to do next? There are 2 choices. One is to select the racial imprint of a race, fuse the 4 pure blood origins, and then fuse the 2 reproduction rules to improve the reproduction ability of the new race. As for the remaining 4 racial imprints, they are naturally used as nutrients to strengthen the selected bloodline sources as much as possible. In this way, the new species merges the origin of other species' bloodline. Even if it is the original species, its basic strength will be stronger on the original basis. For example, he still chooses a Murloc. After integrating the 4 pure blood origins, the new Murloc is still a Murloc, but his physique is definitely much stronger than the Murloc in the current God's Domain. The second option is to try a brain hole that Lin Xiao had a long time ago. At the beginning, the golden finger had not been activated, but he already knew the function of creating the Rubik's Cube in advance. At that time, he was thinking wildly. He had a lot of unrestrained brain holes. Something can be born. Is it to merge into a 4 different, or become a new species? I thought about this idea for a long time at the time, and I never had the chance to try it. Now the opportunity is in front of him, and it depends on whether he can make up his mind. Determination Lin Xiao certainly has, but the current situation is not suitable for him to try all kinds of brain holes. After all, the fusion of different species is not that no true god has tried it. Some true gods with the vocation of creation have already tried to fuse different species to see if they can create a new powerful species, but they have basically failed. The new species' various defects and unknown changes from the depths of the genes make the new species basically unable to live for long. The most important thing is that the racial imprint of the newly merged species has been completely integrated, and there is a high probability that they cannot be separated again. In other words, this fusion, all cards will be integrated into one, and it may not be able to be taken apart in the future. Needless to say, the loss will be heavy. But Lin Xiao had this idea and was still struggling to decide whether to do it or not. Naturally, this choice had benefits that he couldn't refuse. According to human records for hundreds of thousands of years, any god who has the ability to create a new species can obtain the priesthood of creation. That's right, any, including a divine creature like him who can't condense the vocation, can also get it, but it is not obtained immediately, but as long as it becomes a demigod, it will be obtained automatically. The most important thing is that this creation priesthood is an additional priesthood, and it does not need to consume the carrying capacity of its own divinity. That is to say, when you become a demigod, you have 5 points of godness, and the priesthood strength of other demigods cannot exceed 5 points of godness, and he can obtain an additional priesthood within the range of these 5 points of divinity. It is true that the clergy of creation does not increase combat power. It is not a combat clergy, but it is a high-level clergy, and its main function is to widen the upper limit of growth. If it is just an ordinary Murloc priesthood, the upper limit of growth is not high. No matter how many Murloc believers there are, it is impossible to break through the 10th godhead level and become a medium divine power. But if you have the clergy of creation, as long as you understand the rules enough and have enough believers, you can grow all the way to the powerful divine power of the 15th level godhead. This is the gap. Therefore, knowing that the uncertainty is very large, Lin Xiao still wants to give it a try. As the saying goes, bo yi bo, a bicycle becomes a motorcycle. If it fails, the development will be slower at most. With his current strength of the family of God's domain, even if he keeps this state, his grades in the next final exam will not be too bad, and he may not be able to enter the elite class of the key class, but he will not be assigned to the ordinary class. But once successful, hey, Lin Xiao rubbed his hands together, took a deep breath and said, "Fusion." In fact, it is enough to think about it, but he still said it, which is to cheer himself up. At the moment when the words came out, there was already a change in the magic cube. According to his vision, the 4 pure blood sources were first merged into a powerful blood source. Then, consciousness swept between these 5 racial imprints, and with a thought, the Murloc life imprint flew into the source of this powerful bloodline. He chose to focus on Murlocs. In addition to the convenience of integrating into the existing Murloc families in the future, there is also an important reason, that is, the previously loaded salted fish thrusting skills are loaded in the Murloc race. The brand of human life is the main thing. If a new species is merged in the future, it will automatically inherit this authority and can learn this powerful skill. If it is dominated by other species, the new species that will merge in the future cannot learn this skill. A piece of life imprint is put into this strengthened bloodline source, and every time a piece is put in, the faint fluctuation of this group of chaotic blood cells emitting a faint golden light will become stronger by 1 point, and 4 parts will be put in one by one, and the fluctuation will be very fast and strong, to more than 3 times the initial value. Then, put 2 copies of the 2 breeding rules extracted from the breeding card into it. Then put the power of good fortune transformed from the decomposition of the 2-star codfish card into it. Although the mosquito legs are small, they are also meat, which can be strengthened a little bit. After doing this group of chaotic blood spheres that was about to turn gray boiled like boiled water, and mysterious waves gushed out from it. As the master of the Rubik's Cube, Lin Xiao unknowingly sat on the throne and fell asleep. The Rubik's Cube of Fortune, suspended in the center of the vast divine sea, quickly rolled back and forth in a staggered way, and streaks of gray light bloomed from the cracks of the Rubik's Cube. Inside the Rubik's Cube, there is a sun shining like a sun. At this moment, Lin Xiao's soul was synchronized with the Rubik's Cube, and a mysterious creation that was beyond his current understanding was directly and rudely poured into his mind. Murlocs, snakes, goblins, and gnolls, the 4 species from the initial birth to the evolution of the species, until now they have been decomposed under the control of the magic cube, and the various changes produced by mutual fusion are all rudely injected in his mind, he instantly understood the mystery of the creation of these 4 species. At this moment, Lin Xiao had a strong feeling that if he had enough divine power, he could create these 4 species out of thin air. The strong feeling turned into an impulse, and he only felt that he seemed to stretch his finger to the void, and the void exploded in the next second, and he instantly lost consciousness. Chapter 23 Powerful New Species. In a daze, Lin Xiao dreamed that he seemed to have done an earth-shattering event, as if he suddenly woke up and found himself lying on the throne of God, with a splitting headache and weakness, as if he had just been X, then C, then C, then X, after X, then C, after C, X, I don't know how many times XXOO went back and forth. Lying on the throne, I couldn't even move a finger, and I couldn't lift a trace of spirit. The kingdom of God was quiet, and dozens of Murloc guards stood quietly outside the palace like statues. Lin Xiao lay reclining on the throne for a long time before he let out a soft cry. God interface. The God's domain panel popped open, he browsed carefully, and immediately found something wrong. Deity interface. Username. Lin Xiao, citizen number TXWD 542,154,895,147. Real name. Cyberlux Meyer. God's name. Lord of the Grey Mist, Lord of the Endless Tides, Lord of the Seven Seas. Godhead. None. Occupation. None. Creation. Divinity. 1+1. God Fire. Not ignited. Divine Power. 0. Divine Transcendent Power. Titicaler. Kingdom of God. Sea of Grey Fog. Religion. Ancestral God of Murlocs. Follower. Greymist Murloc. Occupation. None. Faith. 0 points. He remembered that he had a little divine power before, and more than 200,000 faith points. Now all of them have become 0 eggs, but in the divinity column, there is a point in parentheses. He put his consciousness on it, with a strange expression on his face, and now his eyes are wide, his face is ecstatic. It's a big mess, how can it still be like this? The bit of divinity in this bracket is indeed a bit of divinity, but it has not been condensed yet. To put it simply, he succeeded. After consuming 4 pure bloodline origins, 5 species life imprints, 2 reproduction cards, a 2-star card, a bit of divine power, and more than 200,000 belief points, he successfully merged a new 1 species, successfully obtained the priesthood of creation, as well as a bit of divinity. However, because of his lack of strength now, the priesthood of creation cannot be activated, so it is displayed with a bracket. And this bit of divinity is the reward for his successful creation this time, and it comes from the reward of a certain law. Or because of insufficient divine power and insufficient belief value, this divinity also cannot be manifested. It is necessary to collect 100 million units of faith value in order to manifest this divinity. It seems that it is no different from the normal condensed divinity, but in fact the difference is big. The normal condensing of divinity requires at least 100 million belief points, and 10 points of divine power can condense, and the success rate cannot be guaranteed, which does not mean that the condensing will be successful. Now only 100 million faith points are needed, without divine power, to ensure that a little divinity can be condensed. The difference between them is big. That is to say, he now has 2 points of divinity. If he performs well in this final exam and gets that bit of divinity in the hands of the head teacher, wouldn't he be able to get 3 points of divinity in the first year of high school? Lin Xiao's breathing is a little short. If this is true, he will definitely be able to meet the prerequisites for promotion to a demigod before the college entrance examination, and then he will definitely be admitted to a good university. And all this, the focus is on the performance of this final exam. And the performance of this final exam is good or bad, the focus is on this new species that has been condensed. It's not enough. Rubbing his hands together, Lin Xiao summoned the Rubik's Cube of Fortune, carefully put his consciousness into it, and saw a ball of light emitting a faint orange light, and immediately an attribute table appeared in his mind. Level 5 Species Card. Unknown Species Legend. Obtain 200 unknown species at one time. Note: half male and half male. Race: unknown species. Category: subhuman. Level: medium race. Occupation: none. Talents: underwater breathing, primary magic power, primary regeneration, scale shell. Skill: bloodthirsty. Specialties: intermediate swimming, beginner's fast walks, ape arms. Physique: 1.8 strong as an ox means you. Strength: 1.7 plus 1 natural strength, close to 3 times the strength of an adult man. Agility: 1.2 plus 0.5 equivalent to a professional sprinter who has undergone certain professional training. Spirit: 1 not much different from ordinary people, generally unable to produce spellcasting occupations. Comments: this is a never-before-seen amphibious humanoid species with superhuman powers. Good guy. Lin Xiao is a good guy, and doesn't look at anything else, just look at this attribute, and then call up the attribute table of the existing family Grey Fog Murlocs in God's domain to compare. Race: Murloc lower race. Category: subhuman. Level: under the first order. Occupation: none. Talent: underwater breathing. Skills: none. Specialties: beginner swimming. Constitution: 0.61 point for an adult human. Strength: 0.5. The 80-year-old may have more explosive power than you at the moment. Agility: 0.4. 1.1 land water. Spirit: 0.4. Even genetic mutation is impossible to become a spellcaster. Comments: extremely weak aquatic race. There is no comparison at all, no matter which aspect, directly crushing the Murloc, even in the water, because this new unknown species is also an amphibious creature, even in the water, it will crush the Murloc. According to the strength of an adult male being 1 point, this new species has nearly twice the physique of ordinary people, nearly 3 times the strength of ordinary people, nearly twice the agility, and does not lose the IQ of human beings, and so on. This is still the basic attribute, without adding 4 talents, 1 skill, and 3 specialties. There are 4 kinds of talents, namely underwater breathing, primary strange power, primary regeneration, and scale shell. Needless to say, underwater breathing, you understand it. Primary monster power is a little extra power. Primary regeneration means that this new species has higher resilience than ordinary people, and it is unknown from which species it is inherited. The scale shell means that this species has a thick layer of scales. It can be seen from the fact that the Murlocs also have scales, but they are not displayed as talents. The scales of the new species must have higher defense. The bloodthirsty skill should be inherited from the black-backed Null. The effect of this skill is very simple. As long as blood is seen, the Null's fighting spirit will increase, and the resistance to abnormal conditions and negative conditions will be slightly increased, such as hypnotic fear and the like. There are 3 kinds of specialties, namely, intermediate swimming, junior fast walking, and monkey arm. Intermediate swimming is also carried over to the Murloc, but faster than the Murloc's primary game. Beginners walk like flying. Just as the name suggests, it means running fast, and the extra 0.5 points of agility is attached to the skill. Ape arm. This feat means that this species can dual-wield 2-handed weapons at the same time, similar to a warrior class skill called Titan Grip. This proper berserker template race. Lin Xiao immediately matched this series of talents and specialties with a certain powerful melee class. If this species were to be reclassified as a berserker, no, even if it was just a warrior, it would greatly increase its combat effectiveness. It's a pity that the professional card is too rare, and the rarity of that thing is second only to the divine card, even if my father doesn't have it. Chapter 24 New Species, Black Scale Naga. The new species, Kalingxiao, hasn't been named yet, because he doesn't yet know what the new species looks like. 5 species merged into 1 species, and he was curious about what kind of monster would be synthesized. Taking the new species card to the sky above God's domain, Lin Xiao pondered for a while, and decided to give up the original family, the Grey Mist Murloc, and let this new species become the main species of God's domain. It's a bit cruel, but this is the only way that every God's domain master must go in his life. Every new divine creature that opens up the realm of the gods, because the initial divinity is only a little, the species that can be selected are generally extremely weak races such as goblins, murlocs, kobolds, and powerful races such as humans, elves, and dwarves. Their divinity cannot be carried, and they must have a higher divinity value to carry it. As the lord of the new god's domain gradually became stronger, the original weak species would definitely not be able to keep up. At this time, a more powerful family had to be replaced. This is inevitable, otherwise others will be replaced by powerful races such as humans, elves, dwarves, orcs, etc. You are still using goblin murlocs. What will you use to fight against these powerful races? In the future, you will lead a group of goblin murlocs to fight against the crystal wall plane of outer domain. Isn't that funny? Lin Xiao knew this step for a long time, but he didn't expect it to come so quickly. He thought that he would start to change in his second or third year of high school, but he didn't expect to have a suitable new species in the first year of high school. Holding the card emitting a faint golden light and throwing it forward, the gold card shattered in midair, turned into a golden mist and fell, and quickly expanded into a ball of golden mist the size of a football field and fell to the ground. A sea breeze blew from the sea not far away, and the golden mist was blown away, revealing each one about 2 meters high with a snake tail more than 4 meters, covered with thick scales. How should I put it? This species looks a little familiar, and it doesn't take a lot of words to describe it. This thing is very similar to an amphibious species called Naga. Yes, just like the Naga in a game called World of Warcraft in the era before Lin Xiao passed through, except that the skin is slightly darker, the scales are slightly rougher, and the face is different from the Naga, and it is just a little more fierce. There are 200 Naga in total, half male and half male. It is worth mentioning that this Naga was named only because he felt like it. It does not mean that it is a real Naga family. In fact, there are Naga races in some crystal wall systems, and his new fusion species is just like it. Moreover, his new species, named black-scaled Naga, has similar appearances between males and females. It is not like the real Naga. Males are like monsters and women are as beautiful and charming as murlocs. Black-scaled female Nagas are ugly and black all over. Scales are not fierce. The only difference between males and females is that the males are stronger, the scales and body lines are rougher, and the females are slightly softer, which can generally be distinguished at a glance. Of course, regardless of whether it is male or female, they all look the same ugly. Anyway, Lin Xiao will never have any illusions about it. But it didn't prevent him from loving this new species and was very satisfied. Regardless of whether it is a real Naga or not, the attributes and strength are here, and this new species still has room to grow. As his newly created species, he is recognized by the law of the underworld, and a new species that has condensed the priesthood of creation. He can continue to integrate new bloodlines to strengthen it in the future. According to the law of creation, he can also strengthen. Lin Xiao took a look. He can still strengthen the black scale Naga 5 times on the existing basis. Wait, can you strengthen it 5 times? He was very surprised to look at it again, and it was indeed possible to strengthen it 5 more times. It's a bit strong. Lin Xiao was very surprised. He remembered an example given by the theory teacher in the past. There was a powerful divine force who created a new species. The new species had 3 opportunities to strengthen it. After 3 enhancements, it directly created a sub-legendary species, a strong one. Even the new species created by the powerful divine power has only 3 enhancement potentials, but this ugly-looking new species has 5 enhancement potentials, Lin Xiao. The corners of his mouth were slightly upturned, and the smile on his face could not be suppressed no matter what. From this moment on, he made up his mind that he would only publicize the enhancement potential of his species twice in the future. Even if you can show your potential in this area and get attention, you will not attract some jealous eyes because of being too high profile. The newly born species stood on the black soil at a loss. As a newly created species, their memory was blank, unlike the creatures summoned by other species cards that still retained certain previous memories. But in their memory there is the existence of Lin Xiao. As the creator, he has acquired the belief of the black-scaled Naga clan, and these 200 black-scaled Naga are the true believers. And when he condenses the priesthood in the future, he can prioritize the racial priesthood of the black-scale Naga with only a little divine bearing, just like the dwarf master god, the elf master god, the murloc god and other racial gods. That is to say, any creator is innately the main god who created the species. Therefore, Lin Xiao's current god name can be changed, or another god name of the father or god of the black-scale Naga can be added. Compared to the Lord of Grey Mist, the Lord of Endless Tides, and the Lord of the Seven Seas, who have casually added forceful names. The name of the black-scaled Naga god is well deserved. Just when he was here, the Murloc tribe on the other side had discovered the new black-scaled Naga, and a large group of Murlocs poured out from the tribe. Observing these new and powerful creatures from a distance, many Murlocs have already appeared. Take out the short spear eye and reveal the fierce light. After defeating more than 200 snake people, these Murlocs have become very daring, and when they encounter these black-scaled Nagas who are not much different from the snake people, they are not only timid, but also dare to take the lead. The black-scaled Naga on the other side felt the malice of the Murlocs, and her eyes were full of ferocity. The several races that this thing merged were not good masters, and the fierceness in their bones was about to seep out. These small Murlocs looked like dare to show malice. Many black-scaled Naga immediately surrounded them. With a grim face that looked somewhat similar to a gnoll, the snake-like eyes stared at the Murloc. Seeing that the two sides were about to fight, Lin Xiao finally sensed the murderous aura below, and a roar like a dull thunder exploded in the minds of all the Murlocs and the black-scaled Naga, and the Murlocs and Naga fell to the ground in an instant. The anger from the gods made all the Murloc Naga sober, and Lin Xiao took advantage of his shocking skills to immediately give a divine message to the Murloc and the black-scaled Naga. Many Murlocs immediately got up and quickly returned to the tribe. The black-scaled Naga gathered together. Lin Xiao appointed a black-scaled Naga who looked pleasing to the eye with the highest degree of faith, and temporarily designated him as an apostle to convey his meaning to the he. Regardless of whether the Murloc or the black-scaled Naga are at least true believers, the effect from the divine metaphor is very obvious. The obedient one returns to the tribe, and the other returns to the place where they just arrived. Chapter 25 New Species with Infinite Potential. But Lin Xiao wasn't very happy. This was only temporary. Next, he would have to worry more about how the two races could live together peacefully. This is also a problem that all newcomers have to face. Every time a new species is added, or a species of the same species is summoned with a species card, it is hostile at the beginning. This does not mean that they can get along peacefully and harmoniously as soon as they are summoned. Similar species, such as Lin Xiao summoned 400 Murlocs who were also Grey Fog before. If there was no interference from him, they would still have disputes and even kill each other. The same is true, let alone different species. If he hadn't interfered, it must have been fighting now. It is also simple to solve this problem. Publish the divine metaphor, and let the Murlocs and the black-scaled Naga send representatives to negotiate. The first step is to live in peace, as long as there is no fight. This peaceful way of living then slowly continued, allowing the two races to become acquainted with each other. When a certain point is reached, the two races can be mixed. Lin Xiao had an idea to mix these two races together to form a hybrid tribe. Congenitally weak Murlocs are responsible for building tribes and catching fish for the black-scaled Naga to eat, that is, offerings. And the innately more powerful black-scale Naga Lord Y, that is, the main battle direction, is specially responsible for fighting for the god's domain and protecting the weak Murlocs. It is a perfect match. This idea is very feasible. After all, there is a Murloc in the blood of the black-scale Naga. Strictly speaking, it can be regarded as a mutant subspecies of Murlocs. It is also an amphibious creature, and it is completely feasible to mix with Murlocs. Next, Lin Xiao stayed in the realm of the gods. What he had to do every day was to let the Murloc leader and the black-scaled Naga messenger he designated go in and out together, train together, and go out fishing together. From the beginning, there were only 2 leaders, slowly adding a few black-scale Naga and a few Murlocs, and after a month, the number increased to dozens of black-scale Naga and dozens of Murlocs, and slowly let they get to know each other, develop affection and fit, and get to know each other well. Cough. The description is a bit weird, but the effect is really good. It only took half a year for all the Murlocs and the black-scaled Naga to have accepted this new neighbor in God's domain. Under the deliberate guidance of Lin Xiao, the Murloc tribe and the black-scaled Naga tribe officially began to live together half a year later, in the Murloc tribe. Black-scaled Naga are amphibious species that can go ashore, but they prefer this kind of shallow sea like Murlocs. The two species officially mixed together, and Lin Xiao finally breathed a sigh of relief. Only at this time did he let go of the restrictions and let all the black-scaled Nagas learn the salted fish thrusting skills. I didn't dare to let them learn from the restrictions before, and the strength of the black-scaled Naga itself crushed the Murlocs. If you learned this skill, it would be worth it. With the current physique and strength of the black-scaled Naga, holding a fine iron short spear and using a salted fish stab 5 times, the lethality is shocking, and anyone has a lethality that is even more terrifying than the Murloc leader. Match. At this point, the Murlocs can withdraw from the battle sequence of the God's Domain. In the future, the main battle race of Lin Xiao's God's Domain will be changed to the black-scaled Naga. According to the division of general power, any black-scaled Naga has the combat power equivalent to the first-level peak arms, and it is no less than the second-level arms of some weak species, such as the Murloc, which is upgraded to the second-level Murloc warrior, regardless of physique or strength. Not much stronger than the black-scale Naga. Once upgraded, it is directly the second-level black-scaled Naga warrior. Level 3 Black-scale Naga warrior. Level 4 Black-scale Naga shark hunting warrior. That is to say, this species can now be upgraded to the 4th level of arms. You may not see how powerful it is from just looking at it this way. Let's just say, a legendary high-level race like humans can only be upgraded to level 5. For the time being, he can't compare to the mainstream races such as human, elves, orcs, but it is impossible for him to meet these mainstream higher races now. At the same high school level, he can hardly meet anyone stronger than him. Leaving God's Domain, the God's Domain login cabin was opened, and a faint blue mist filled the air. Lin Xiao got out of it with a proud face, and he didn't know how beautiful his mood was. The next step is to cultivate the black-scaled Naga. In his mind, he recalled the course on the cultivation of new species in the theoretical course he had taken. Now that the most crucial step has been taken, the next task is much easier. In addition to spending time to reproduce, the most important thing for Lin Xiao is a professional card. Skills include bloodthirsty and salted fish thrusting, plus various talents and specialties. These are enough. Now there is only one combat class card. Even the most basic warrior class can greatly increase the combat effectiveness of the black-scaled Naga. Under the blessing of occupations and various talents and specialties, with the excellent innate foundation of the black-scaled Naga, it is possible to even leapfrog battles. It is worth mentioning that the reproduction ability of the black-scale Naga is still good. Combining 2 5-star reproduction cards and the high reproduction talent of the Murloc bloodline, the black-scale Naga is not affected by the innate. The stronger the reproduction ability, the lower the reproduction ability. Influenced by the law, although the reproduction ability is not as good as that of the family Murlocs in God's Domain, it also has a reproduction speed comparable to that of normal Murlocs. The newborn black-scaled Naga has only 5 or 6 months of infancy, 2 years of infancy, 3 years of juvenile, and adulthood in the 6th year. The lifespan of the black-scaled Naga is slightly less than that of humans, with an upper limit of about 50 years. Each promotion increases a certain lifespan. If you can continue to be promoted to the 4th level, you will be able to live beyond the age of 80 years. This is already a very good race, both in strength and lifespan, and it can be cultivated as the main race. Even if it cannot be improved, this alone is enough to occupy a place in the realm of the gods. After all, it is a newly created species recognized by the laws of the underworld. This can support a racial priesthood. As long as there are enough numbers, this alone can support a true god. If the next 5 enhancements are successful, a legendary race can be enhanced. That would be a fork. You don't need to describe how awesome it is, as long as you refer to the fact that the main gods of mainstream races such as elves, dwarves, orcs are powerful gods. You will know how great the potential is. After washing his face casually, Lin Xiao felt that his whole body was full of energy. He walked back and forth in the room, turned back and lay on the bed and closed his eyes. But after a while I opened my eyes and couldn't sleep. With such an awesome race, he always felt uncomfortable without a place to talk. I know very well that this is not suitable for publicity everywhere, but I have always felt a kind of feeling of brocade clothing at night in my heart. I was thinking about telling my mother to go, but I couldn't figure out how to explain the origin of this thing. It seems that he is a high school student who is not even a demigod to cultivate such a strong new race. This seems to be too exaggerated. Chapter 26 God's Domain Development thanks to the leader of Wusheng Boss, oh yeah. Of course, this can't be hidden, and it will definitely be revealed after the final exam, but it took so long to slow down. After tossing and turning for almost 2 hours, he fell asleep in a daze. He woke up early the next morning, and after breakfast, he entered the God's Domain login cabin and came to the God's Domain in the subspace. First, I routinely checked the God's Domain. The black-scaled naga and the gray fog fish people get along pretty well. Coming to the top of the newly opened fertile land in God's Domain, this black land that is 3.5 kilometers long and a little more than a kilometer wide is already growing some weeds on the side near the beach. Rubbing his chin with his hands and overlooking the divine realm, Lin Xiao felt that he still needed some economic plants and some seeds. For example, potatoes, red flags and other plants that are easy to cultivate and have high yields. The 5-star resource card, a large group of shallow sea fish groups has already been placed. There are 5 random groups of shallow sea fish groups in total, which are a large group of white-scaled sea shrimp, a large group of salmon, a large group of cod, and a large group of sturgeon fish, as well as a large group of black-spotted groupers. Each large group is according to the size of the species, such as a large grouper with only 1,000 in a large group, and a small white-scaled shrimp in a large group with more than 100,000. All are half male and female and can reproduce. 5 kinds of sea species, plus several in the previous God's Domain, greatly enriched the species in the ocean and perfected the biological chain. It can be said that as long as it is not overfished, as long as it is multiplied, these seafood can completely supply the food needs of 2,000 or 3,000 murlocs and black-scaled naga. As for the bison herd card, I haven't put it down for the time being. The main reason is that the fertile land that has just been opened has no grass and no plants. If these bison are released without food, they will starve to death. It is not easy to run a God's Domain, especially in the early stage, when almost everything is lacking. There are constant problems, and solving one problem will lead to new problems. The cards that can be used in the early stage are limited, so it must be planned reasonably, and each card must be considered worthwhile. Lin Xiao spent a few months in God's Domain thinking. He was considering the future development route of God's Domain, whether to follow the main battle genre, the farming style, or the comprehensive style. If it is the main battle stream, he has to consider forming a gang, just like the outstanding students in the class, find a few friends who get along with him, and wait until the level of the gods and the value of his own divinity reach a certain level. Choose to join forces with others to complement each other's strengths. The main battle flow means that in the future, all the cards in the fusion of God's Domain will not need to consider resource output, internal balance, etc., and only focus on cultivating the main battle race. As long as the main battle race and God's Domain are strong, the logistical issues are left to other united teammates. For example, if you find a God's Domain that specializes in farming, you don't need to develop your family's combat power. You only need to focus on farming and produce enough resources to supply the races in the captain's God's Domain. Just like Lin Xiao's father and mother, his father is the main battle stream, and his mother is the farming stream. The strength of the family in God's Domain is average, but the resource output of God's Domain is super high, and there are enough extra resources to support his father's God's Domain. To give another simple example, in Lin Xiao's family, all members of the God Domain are united by the 2 true gods in the family. Auxiliary, forming a huge god system. His family is in the Crystal Wall system Axe 14, and it is displayed in the name of the god system in the eyes of the native gods. The main battle flow and the farming flow are one attack and one defense, complementing each other. The comprehensive stream, as the name suggests, is strong in both offense and defense, and conversely, it can be said that the offense and defense are not strong, but there is no shortcoming. Lin Xiao's previous idea was to follow the main battle style, and then find a beautiful goddess as his wife just like his father, but later found that beautiful goddesses were hard to find. There was not a single beautiful female classmate in the class, but there were a few in the school. But what does that have to do with him? Like that kind of high-quality girls, there are a bunch of LSPs guarding them early on, and there is no chance for him at all. In addition, Lin Xiao personally felt that there was a huge hidden danger in this way of division of labor and cooperation. Once a problem occurred in one party, it would affect the whole body and affect the entire God system. In addition, he personally has a small obsessive-compulsive disorder, and he doesn't like the shortcomings of his own domain, so he can only follow the comprehensive flow. Of course, this does not affect finding teammates to form a God system in the future. In the following time, Lin Xiao spent every day soaking in the God's domain, watching each new black-scaled Naga break their eggs and grow up slowly. He was full of joy. The black-scaled Naga has grown up for 6 years and has a lifespan of 50 years. There are still more than 10 years before the final exam, which is enough for the third batch of offspring to be born. According to the black-scaled Naga, 1 to 3 eggs are laid at a time, once a year, and the necrotic eggs are removed, and more than 40 or 50 newborns are born in the first year. During this period of time, Lin Xiao gave these believers only one divine metaphor, and that was the life of death. He strived to accumulate more than 500 black-scaled Naga before the final exam. Only then would he have enough confidence in the final exam. Get divine rewards. As for the Grey Mist Murlocs, he did not issue any divine prophecies. Now that the Murlocs have been positioned by him as an auxiliary race, there is no need to die, and he does not expect these Murlocs to play a big role in that time. No way, after more than 20 years, even the longest-lived Murlocs will die, and a large number of Murloc warriors and Murloc warriors who have been upgraded during the previous thorough test will all be dead by then. Later Murlocs were all 0 level, with limited combat power, and they were cannon fodder when they were pulled into the battlefield. However, he still underestimated the reproductive capacity of these Murlocs. There is no war, there is enough food, and the newly born Murlocs all have twice the reproductive capacity and survival rate. In these years, the growth rate of the Murlocs is like a dumpling. Good guy, after half a month, that is, 15 years after God's domain, the number of Murlocs in God's domain has exceeded 2,110. This was because he saw that the situation was not good, and he deliberately suppressed it, and let the Murloc leaders pull these Murlocs to exercise every day, so that they would not just give birth to cubs every day. The number reached this point, basically reaching the upper limit of the God's domain. Don't forget that there are more than 480 black-scaled Naga in the God's domain. This is also a big eater. Just these few hundred Naga will not eat less than the 2,000 Murlocs. Fortunately, the newly opened fertile land in God's domain has been covered with weeds over the years. He activated the bison card and summoned 100 bison to stock up on this meadow. Hundreds of black-scaled Naga swarmed these wild bulls and raised them in captivity, and the domestication has been initially successful. It was not used for arable land, because there were no seeds, it was purely captive as beef cattle, and some were slaughtered as food after a period of time to ensure that the herd could reproduce. Chapter 27 Final Exam begins 1. In fact, these domesticated bison can be regarded as a special product of God's domain, which can be exchanged with other students for other resources, or traded with faith. But now the classmates at the same level as Lin Xiao are basically poor ghosts, and there is nothing to exchange, so he used some dried fish to exchange a batch of grass seeds with the classmates, which is the kind that the cattle eat now. Now, there is only 1 week left until the final exam. When Lin Xiao woke up this day, he received a notice from the head teacher. The school committee has researched and decided that the final exam of the senior year will be scheduled for 6 days later, that is, June 25, 2019. Please prepare well and go to the school to gather on June 24. The content of this year's final exam will be announced. To be precise, there are only 5 days to prepare. Lin Xiao stretched out his finger and pressed it to confirm that he had received it. After thinking about it, I edited the content, and added a few words to forward it to my mother. In less than a minute, he was still brushing his teeth when he received a reply from his mother. Baby, work hard, mother will hope to give mother some face on your grandfather's birthday next month. Lin Xiao opened his frothy mouth, and couldn't help thinking of the uncle's cousin who liked to pretend in front of him, the corners of his mouth curved slightly involuntarily. Looks like I'm looking forward to it. He, and replied to his mother. Don't worry, mother, my son will give you a surprise when the time comes. The mother will wait and see. When your final exam is over, the mother will prepare a surprise for you. 6 days passed silently, and Lin Xiao, who had been soaking in the preparations of God's domain, left home and went to school when the time was up. Dongning City Number 5 Middle School refers to the 5th-ranked God school in Dongning City. It specializes in cultivating newborn God students, which is different from ordinary schools. The school is located at the foot of the end of Dongning Mountain outside the city, a super-large campus covering an area of several million square meters. Several high schools in Dongning City that cultivate gods are all located in each section of Dongning Mountain. Unlike ordinary schools, deity students not only do not have to live in the school, but even attend classes at home. Usually there are very few people in the school, and they only gather on important days. No, today's final exam is an important day. When Lin Xiao came over by flying car, he saw from a distance that the huge school gate was full of flying cars. Many students not only came by themselves, but also brought their parents. The speeding car stopped at the school gate and got off. Lin Xiao raised his head and looked at the school gate, which was several hundred meters high. A huge dragon head was wrapped around the school gate by a chain of golden chains. The grim face was facing the school gate, and the huge pupils were black flames. It was burning, and a suffocating coercion spread all around, as if it were still alive. In fact, this is indeed alive. The head of this giant dragon came from a certain level of the bottomless abyss of a certain crystal wall system. An abyss dragon comparable to a high demigod. After being beheaded by the first-generation principal, the head was sealed. Send it back to the main world and put it at the school gate. The seal of a medium divine power, coupled with the suppression of the powerful rules of the main world, this abyss dragon has been locked here, unable to move at all. Lin Xiao looked at this head with extreme jealousy. If this thing was thrown into the Rubik's Cube to decompose, he couldn't help but reached out and touched the saliva at the corner of his mouth, then turned around suddenly, seeing that Yuan Hong didn't know when he had arrived. He looked at the magic dragon head at the school gate in doubt, then glanced at the saliva at the corner of his mouth, and the corner of his mouth turned up with a look of disdain. Depend on. I lost my fame and lost my face. Lin Xiao quickly wiped his saliva and rushed into the school gate. In the first year of high school, there is a teaching building, and the third class has an independent building with a total of 20 floors, all of which are owned by the third class. When Lin Xiao arrived at the assembly hall, more than half of the classmates had already arrived early, and he said hello to Zheng Wenjuo, the tutor who was standing at the door chatting with Meng Wei. The class teacher Wu Hai had not arrived yet. I found a seat at random and sat down, and a classmate leaned over and said in a low voice, I heard that Wanchuan successfully condensed the second point of divinity a few days ago, and his strength has soared, maybe even stronger than Yuanong. Lin Xiao glanced suspiciously at this classmate who was not very familiar with before, and said, So what? It's Yuan Hong who should be worried. What's wrong with me? Sang Ping said with a look of surprise. Don't you want to fight for the divine card in the teacher's hand? He shook his head and said, When did I say such a thing? Sang Ping looked confused, scratched his head in doubt and muttered. Didn't you take the first place in the final test last time? So what? It's just luck. Do you think I can win the first place this time? Sang Ping was speechless. Lin Xiao ignored him and turned his head. His fingers clicked on the table, a light screen popped open, and his fingers clicked to expand the screen. He pressed his palm to verify, and the interface changed to enter the school's official website, and began to check the school's information about this announcement of the final exam. Although I will not be resigned to others, I still have to keep a low profile in front of my classmates. Just like the last test, I have to be a blockbuster. Most of the information on the official website is old information, only one new information has been updated. It is about the content of this final exam. He clicked on the information to view it. It took a few minutes to browse all the information, and Lin Xiao knew it. Like the previous ones, the rules of the final exam this year are roughly the same, and it is also divided into two sections, one elimination system and one ranking system. The elimination system, as the name suggests, is to eliminate some students. All students receive a wave of assessments of the same difficulty. As long as they pass the test, they will drop out directly after the final exam, and they will not even have the chance to be assigned to ordinary classes. This is not a system unique to the 5th middle school, but the whole human civilization is like this. No matter which middle school, some students will be eliminated after the first year of high school. The reason for this is that it involves resource allocation, because students need to invest far more resources in the school after the second year of high school than in the first year of high school, and the school has limited resources, so they can only cultivate elites, and those with poor grades can only drop out and find another way to make a living. Of course, even if you drop out of school, after all, you are a divine creature, far stronger than ordinary people, and you can get along well no matter where you go. For example, if you join a large private team to venture outside, there are no school restrictions. You can quickly grow up to a certain level by pulling the seedlings to help you become cannon fodder, or work as a coolie to provide resources for the main team members. Most of the students take this route after dropping out, and a few who are related can join government departments or the military, and go to the safe places controlled by government departments or the military to hang around. The outland planes are dominated by gods, and the technology is not obvious. Divine creatures are considered the lowest level in the main world, but some planes in outland are definitely big figures. No matter how bad they are better than ordinary people. This is only a mess, but if you continue to work hard after dropping out of school, it is not impossible for you to be promoted to a demigod or even a true god. It is not that the Commonwealth did not succeed in consecrating God through its own efforts after dropping out of school. Chapter 28 Final exam begins too. And this kind of person who can get up from the bottom and can confer a god is all ruthless characters. All of them are very tough, and they are very popular among the major forces. But there are too few of them, compared to the ones who were born in 8 tight classes. There are 10 classes in the first year of the 5th middle school, but there are only 5 classes in the second year of the high school, and the 5th class is not full of members, and more than half of them are eliminated in the final exam of the first year of high school. And there is no bottom line for this kind of elimination. As long as the first wave of elimination assessment fails, they will be eliminated. Even if there are too many eliminations, it is not ambiguous. In previous years, there is no such thing as a situation where there are fewer than 3 classes in the second grade after the final exam. After the elimination assessment, it is the focus of this final exam. The ranking system, also called the ranking system, is ranked according to the performance. The top ones enter the elite class, and the rest are all ordinary classes. The specific test content is not mentioned above, but according to the previous situation, it is most likely to enter the plane controlled by the outer domain school. After reading the information, Lin Xiao touched his chin, saw a familiar figure out of the corner of his eyes. Yuan Hong came in with a backpack, and a few classmates chatting at the door immediately greeted him. Cut. He turned his head enviously. He also wanted to have a younger brother, although the current younger brother will soon be useless, but it is very cool to have a younger brother. In the second year of high school, the teacher will encourage the students to try to form a team, not necessarily the same classmates, but also other classmates. By the third year of high school, the team will basically take shape. At that time, every major class will basically be dominated by teams. This is to prepare for the establishment of the gods. Many of the indigenous gods in the outer domain are dominated by one god. Even if there is only one indigenous god in the small plane, there are also demigods under him. Basically, no one fights alone. Although Lin Xiao has golden fingers, he will also find some companions in the future, but his companions are not very demanding. At least he is at the level of Yuan Hong Wanchuan, and he can barely keep up with his growth rhythm. This must be difficult. After all, someone like Yuan Hong Wanchuan who was the best in the same grade as his own boss, so how can he be his younger brother? But it is better to be short than to waste, and the requirements will definitely not be lowered. If there is nothing, it can't make up. The big deal is to be alone. When you enter the outer domain in the future, you can also conquer some of the indigenous gods of the outer domain. Or maybe find a beautiful wife. Just like father and mother, husband and wife support each other and can get along well. Rubbing his teeth in Hanako, Lin Xiao suddenly raised his head, saw Yuan Hong looking over, and turned his head back with a disgusting expression on his face. What the hell? I've never seen drooling, as for staring at it all the time. He lowered his head and glanced at his whole body, touched his handsome face, suddenly shivered, and quickly looked away. As time went by, students came one by one, and finally Wan Chuan, who was as strong as a little giant, came with the head teacher. When he entered the classroom, Wan Chuan first glanced at Lin Xiao, and finally his eyes fell on Yuan Hong. Even if outsiders, you can see the provocation in his eyes. Condensing the second point of divinity, Wan Chuan's strength immediately caught up with Yuan Hong, and he was already able to pose a huge threat to the first in the class. Yuan Hong withdrew his gaze when Wan Chuan came in. The two looked at each other, and could faintly see the sparks in their eyes. As for Lin Xiao, they were not regarded as major competitors by the two of them. He was happy and relaxed, laughing and watching the two cross-eyed eyes staring at each other. If only there was a bag of melon seeds. Unfortunately, this situation didn't last long and was interrupted by the head teacher knocking on the table. A few, dong dong, made everyone come back to their senses. Wu Hai glanced at all the classmates expressionlessly and said, "Long story short, I believe everyone has read the updated content on the school's official website and knows the content of this year's high school final exam. According to the elimination system, it is estimated that half of the class may not pass." Having said this, he paused for a moment, glanced at many students in the class, and continued. "It's cruel, but the school's resources are limited, and it can only give priority to cultivating outstanding students, and the eliminated students have many ways to eliminate students now, and it is not that there is no chance to go further in the future, as long as you work hard." Having said that, the head teacher was silent. This sentence also comforts. The real situation is that 10,000 students who are eliminated in the first year of high school may eventually become demigods, less than 10, not even 1,000th. But this is the reality. No matter what era or world it is, there will always be only a handful of people who can reach the top. Lin Xiao is glad that his luck is not bad. His parents are demigods. It can be said that opening up the realm of the gods can be said to be almost certain. If it is a descendant of ordinary people, the success rate of opening up the realm of God without a golden finger is less than 1%. Half an hour later, the students with different moods were taken to the third floor by the invigilator. This floor was divided into many small cubicles, each with a God's domain login cabin. During the final exam, they would use the God's domain provided by the school. Log in to enter the realm of the gods. The role is only one, to prevent cheating. Yes, that is, cheating in any age. In this age of gods is no exception. There are many methods. The most common is to spend a lot of money to buy some special cards to temporarily strengthen the strength. If the conditions are good and there is a true God in the family, directly ask the true God to use his divine power to penetrate the body. Well, it's another matter if you can get it to work, but there is this kind of cheating. Log into God's domain through the school's customized God's domain login device. Under the supervision of many true gods in the school, no one can cheat. Lin Xiao was randomly assigned to room 41, pushed the door to enter, a small cubicle, and there was almost no room after putting down a divine domain login cabin. According to the invigilator's instructions, check the login cabin first. Although there will be no problem with the early detection, it is still necessary to check it to avoid accidents. At the same time, debug it by the way, and then lie in it. As the login hatch slowly closed, light blue mist poured out, and Lin Xiao slowly closed his eyes. In the vast subspace, a huge golden platform stopped quietly in the void. The violent subspace storm could not shake the platform at all. Streams of light flew from the unknown depths of the void to fall onto the platform, turning into young men and women. Teenage girls. Lin Xiao slowly opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was the golden floor and intricate patterns under his feet. He looked up at a transparent dome, and rounds of dazzling golden light circles slowly revolved around the platform. In one of the rounds of golden light balls, he felt the familiar atmosphere of the head teacher Wu Hai. In this round of light balls, each one represents the head teacher of each class in the senior one. There are 10 high demigods. At the top of the dome, he saw several more dazzling spheres of light, and the one in the center pressed down all the spheres of light like the sun. Not surprisingly, this one should be the projection of a vice principal of the school, a real god. Chapter 29 Demigods. Rounds of high-level demigod projections surrounded the golden platform, and streams of light poured into the artifact platform, turning into students one by one. In addition to the first and third classes, there were also 9 other classes from the first year gathered here today. There are 49 students in the first and third classes of senior high school, and there are as many as 50 or as few as 40 students in other classes, including many outstanding students whose reputation has jumped out of this class. Yan Renji, tall and handsome, with green pupils as beautiful as gems, inherited the blood of his father's true god, and has 2 innate divinities like Yuan Hong, but more powerful than Yuan Hong. He has always been the top 3 regulars in the whole grade. Wan Ying, a small and cute girl, with a beautiful and cute lowly voice, with a slender figure and a raised butt, but her breasts are a little small. This little girl has a powerful mother clan. Her ancestors once had a godhead level of 14, and she could be promoted to a big man with powerful divine power. Even if she is not a descendant of the first generation, she can inherit a little extra divinity, and the extra extraordinary talent is the strongest in all grades. Of course, it is also one of the top 3 regulars in the whole grade. She is beautiful and talented. If the school is boring like a normal school and judges the so-called school beauty, she will definitely have a place. In addition to these 2 dazzling geniuses, there are many talented people who are slightly inferior to them, such as Wan Chuan and Yuan Hong from this class, who are considered the second echelon in the whole grade. Lin Xiao ranked 252 in the whole grade a month ago, belonging to the group that was on the verge of elimination. Now, from the superficial grades, the teacher's evaluation, and the opinions of the classmates, he should belong to the 3rd batch. He lives under Wanchuan Yuanong. If there is no accident, he will definitely be promoted to the 2nd year of high school. Class is little genius. Yes, genius is so worthless. In other words, it is only considered a genius in 1 grade, and it is not considered to jump out of a larger circle. Lin Xiao heard that there was a real genius in the know. One middle school of Dongning City. He was born with 3 extra points of divinity, plus 1 basic point, a total of 4 points. It is said that now he has condensed a little of divinity, and he has collected the minimum 5 points to become a demigod. The condition of divinity, if you want, you can try to condense the priesthood to become a demigod now, which is simply too strong. Compared to such a true genius, other so-called geniuses are nothing. Not long after, waiting for everyone, an emotionless mechanical voice suddenly sounded. The first round of the final exam for this year's high school class is about to begin. The rules have been delivered, and the assessment will begin in a quarter of an hour. This is the spirit of the artifact, referring to the mage's mage tower spirit. The sound of the machine echoed on the platform, and a light curtain popped up in front of everyone's eyes, which displayed the specific content of the elimination assessment. Lin Xiao focused on checking the rules and nodded. The rules are very simple, that is, through the school's functional artifact, project all the students' families into the half-plane opened by the artifact to undergo the test. Because it is a projection, even if the loss in the test is huge or even completely dead, it will not affect the student's hair. The main reason for this is because in the next qualifying stage, all students directly descend to a plane controlled by a school in the outer domain. This stage is a real test of students' strength. If the loss is too great in the elimination stage, the follow-up it's hard to get good grades on the test. Another reason is that at least half of so many students are destined to drop out of school. Considering the difficult life after dropping out, the school does not want them to suffer heavy losses when they are about to drop out of school. Specially invite the school artifact to use the projection method to test. Even if it fails, its own strength is preserved, and it will not be necessary to start all over again after dropping out. A quarter of an hour passed in a blink of an eye, and as the countdown to the mechanical spirit started, Lin Xiao glanced at Wanchuan Yuanong, who was staring at each other, and laughed secretly in his heart. 3, 2, 1, 0. When the time returned to 0, Lin Xiao only felt that the soles of his feet sank into the void. Below was an invisible golden vortex. Nearly 1,000 golden streamers fell straight into the vortex, making people feel extremely small. Inside the vortex, he only felt that the golden light in front of him was so dazzling that he couldn't open it. He closed his eyes and waited quietly. He didn't know how long it took before he felt down to earth. When he opened his eyes, he found that he was standing in the void. The half-plane of kilometers * 3 kilometers. Looking left and right, there are identical half-planes floating in the distant void, which is estimated to be the test place for other students. This half-plane has no water, No plants, only endless wasteland and gravel. Please choose to invest in troops. A light curtain popped up again in front of Lin Xiao's eyes, allowing him to determine the troops invested in this test. This still needs to be considered. The brilliance of the sky descended from the sky and plunged into the half-plane, revealing more than 2,000 gray fog murlocs with dumbfounded fish faces, and more than 500 black-scaled naga, each with 1 or 2 fine iron short spears. I have to say that the races are indeed different. Compared to the gray fog murlocs who are still in shock, the fish-faced murlocs are overwhelmed. The black-scaled naga's adaptability is obviously stronger. Ka gathered with a loud cry. Many gray fog murlocs also came back to their senses under their shouts, and began to scream wildly, and those who were bold even ran around. At this time, the gray fog murlocs had already harmoniously integrated with the black-scaled naga as a big tribe. Several black-scaled naga leaders shouted loudly and directed some murlocs to explore around, and the rest gathered in place to form a group. Pray in a low voice. Lin Xiao's golden figure appeared above the sky, and the prayers of the believers could be heard in his ears. Supreme Creator, God of Naga and Murlocs. Lin Xiao's current god name has been changed in the past 10 years, from the Great Lord of Grey Mist, the Lord of Endless Tides, and the Lord of the Seven Seas to the Supreme Creator, the God of Naga and Murlocs, and himself. The power at hand is more appropriate. The names of the gods before were messed up, but they were so strong that they made believers feel that the true gods they believed in were comparable. In fact, they didn't even have priesthoods. Before becoming a demigod, a god's name can be chosen casually, but once a demigod becomes a demigod, a god's name cannot be chosen casually, and must be related to the condensed vocation. For example, Lin Xiao condenses the 3 priesthoods of creation, Naga, and Murloc, so he can no longer be called the Supreme Lord of the Sea. Because the clergy represents authority, and what authority you hold can be called what you want. If you don't have this authority, you will mess up God's name, and believers will have beliefs that are not related to the clergy in their beliefs when they pray. It is a trivial matter to waste belief values that have nothing to do with authority. The impact of non-authority beliefs in the beliefs gathered by believers in belief values is fatal. Demigods and divine beings are different. There is no priesthood, so naturally there is no impact. Once there is such an impact on the priesthood will be disturbed at light, and the divinity will be washed away in the worst case, so that the condensed godness will no longer be pure, and thus the level will drop. It may even fall directly. Chapter 30. The test begins. So it's okay to call yourself whatever you want before condensing the priesthood to become a demigod. You can even tell the believers that you are the creator god, but once you condense the priesthood, the name of the god is whatever you want, and you can't call it randomly. In order to avoid the trouble of making changes in the future, Lin Xiao started making changes early. After all, he has now pre-ordered creations, the 2 priesthoods of Naga. The Murlocs are not sure yet, but there is a high probability that they can be condensed. At this time, the prayers of the believers continued to ring in the ears. Your devout believers pray here, the Supreme Creator of the Lord, the God of Naga and Murlocs, guide your devout believers. The prayer is repeated in my ears over and over again. As a traveler who has received professional education in the super god era and has read many fantasy novels in his previous life, Lin Xiao deeply captures the essence of believers hurting. Unless it is a very urgent situation, don't let believers respond immediately as soon as they pray, they have to wait for a while. In layman's terms, it is necessary to pretend, to make believers feel the difficulty of communicating with their beliefs, and to have a sense of distance and mystery. Mystery produces fear, and fear requires spiritual support. At this time, praying is the best. In this regard, Lin Xiao has done a very good job. It's not his bragging, not to mention the whole class, even the whole class is not as good as him in cultivating believers. After about 10 rounds of prayer, Lin Xiao responded. He responded with a low voice and showed it in the ears of the believers. It sounded like thunder in his ears, and his eardrums throbbed. Evil is coming, my children, take up arms to defend my glory, and my eyes will be with you. After saying this, Lin Xiaoti spent 10,000 faith points to cast the magic technique, Seawater Essence. Countless light blue seawater essences fell from the sky like stars, shrouding all the family members in it. It's useless, but it makes believers feel his presence and strengthens their faith. The first wave of tests will be in 5 minutes, please get ready. A line of small words appeared in the corner of his eyes. Lin Xiao glanced at it, but did not move. According to the prompts they saw before, they needed to defeat 3 waves of enemies to pass the elimination assessment. This was only the first wave. How difficult could it be? As soon as 5 minutes arrived, the crystal wall on the edge of the plain, located in the north of the half-plane, suddenly opened a door of light with a height of 3 meters, and a goblin with a shape similar to the fish walked out of it. Under the guidance of the underworld, go straight to the family settlement in the center of the plain. In the void, 10 golden light spheres on the edge of the huge golden platform shot a golden light into the platform, and passed through the platform into the huge vortex. Shao Qing, 10 figures floating in the void appeared in the artifact space. The head teacher of the first class, Chao Liang, raised his head and glanced at the half-planes in the surrounding void, and said with a smile to the head teachers of other classes next to him. You said that this time, how many students can pass 3 levels and then pass 2 extra levels? The head teacher of the second class replied, judging from past results, it is possible to rank in the top 20 in any grade, but considering the state and command, as well as the fact that each wave of tests is different, and different species are restrained, I guess there should be less than 10. The head teacher of the first class, Chao Liang, nodded. This number is quite reasonable, but I don't know which classmates they are. He raised his head and said to the other head teachers, should we play a game and bet on which class has the best performance at this stage, and the winner and the others will each prepare 3 5-star cards to win, how about it? The other head teachers didn't speak, and Wu Hai turned his head to pretend he didn't hear it. He didn't accept this bet. Who didn't know that the highest average level in the whole grade was the first and second classes? This bet was purely for money, so he didn't do it. Chao Liang glanced at the head teacher of the second class, and the other party spread his hands and said, don't look at me, we can't play if we don't play, it's boring. Do you want something interesting? An old voice sounded in their ears out of thin air, and all the head teachers sighed in unison, shouting respectfully. Old principal. No one appeared, but no one looked up, and the old voice said, in this way, I will preside over it. Later, after the third wave, I will open the endless mode. You can bet on whose students can last longer after the third wave. Take the top 10. The winner will be rewarded by the principal, and the top 3 will be rewarded. Give away a super rare card, and a place in the Super Freshman Summer Camp. Super Freshman Summer Camp places. All the head teachers showed surprised expressions at the same time, and when they looked at each other, they could see the shock in the eyes of all the head teachers. For a long time, there was no sound. They knew that the old principal had left. The head teacher of the first class, Chao Liang, slowly put away the shock in his eyes. The corner of his mouth was curled up and the smile could not be hidden. He cupped his hands to several colleagues and said, it's rare for the old principal to be in the mood, so let's accompany him. Everyone, I'll go first. The head teacher of the second class, Yu Zaihua, had a solemn expression, and he also folded his fists and left. The 8 head teachers who were left looked at each other. Wu Hai smiled freely and said, that's what the old principal meant. What else can I say? Anyway, we don't need to give the reward. Having said that, they all know that the best grades in the grade are in the first and second classes, and it is difficult to get the top 3 rewards. In the third class, Yuan Hong and Wan Chuan may compete for the top 10, but it is also possible. A negligence is not in the top 10. He's not bad. Some classes may not be able to get the top 11. Wouldn't it be shameful to say it out? Bowing his hands, Wu Hai turned and left. In the half-plane, Lin Xiao looked at the first wave of a total of 100 ordinary goblins, 10 big goblins, and 5 bear goblins, with a dignified expression. This difficulty is a bit high. It's not that it's high for him. He doesn't take this difficulty in his eyes, but it's a bit difficult for ordinary students. It's just the first wave. Wave is indeed quite difficult for ordinary students. It is no wonder that so many students are eliminated every year, and it is strange that they are not eliminated according to this difficulty. More than 100 goblins went straight to the center of the plain, and soon they fought with the murlocs who also discovered the goblins. More than 500 murlocs erupted at the same time, and the super-fast speed of the salted fish stabs made them charge into the goblin group in the blink of an eye. Then, no more. The physique of the local goblin and the murloc is not much different from being hit by the salted fish stab 5 times the crit, which is basically an instant kill. Even the hobgoblins, which are stronger than ordinary goblins, can't stand it. Only a few bear goblins rely on the powerful. The physique can be tough. But this is of no use. Can you carry 1 or 2, or 5? After a wave of charge ended, the goblins were almost dead, and the remaining ones were knocked down by the murlocs that followed, and never got up again. In less than half a minute, the first wave of goblins was wiped out. Good. Lin Xiao whistled and was quite satisfied with the fighting strength of his family. Half an hour later, the portal reappeared, and the second wave of trials began. Looking at the creature that came out of the portal, Lin Xiao's face immediately collapsed. Leave. Chapter 31 Lin Xiao's Talent. 200 lizardmen archers walked out from the portal in a formation that was 300 or 400 meters long. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the center of the lizardmen archers. Dozens of them were taller than their kin, and even the bows in their hands were a little bigger. The lizardmen archers of the number 1, just under his nose, these dozens of large-sized lizardmen archers separated a few hundred meters and opened their bows and shot arrows at the sky. Of course, this is not to find him and shoot him, but to project from a long distance. A strong arrow flew out from a height of more than 200 meters and fell obliquely into the charging fish crowd, shooting over a dozen fish people on the spot. As the family charged, 7 waves of arrows rained down, and hundreds of murlocs fell on the road. When they reached a distance of about 134 to 40 meters, the ordinary lizardmen archers also took arrows and pulled their bows and started throwing them. Arrows rained down the sky, and a large number of murlocs were shot to death halfway. But none of the murlocs were afraid. Their firm belief made them temporarily forget their fears. Driven by the Naga, they screamed and rushed towards the lizardman shooter. Decades of change, as the previous generations of murlocs died one after another, including the leader of the incarnated murlocs that Lin Xiao used from time to time, also died of old age. The gray fog murlocs have completely turned into vassals of the black-scaled Naga, and now Lin Xiao's divine domain is completely dominated by the black-scaled Naga, and the gray fog murlocs are servants. In terms of racial combat power, lizardmen shooters are definitely stronger than murlocs, but there are too many murlocs, and more than 2,000 murlocs in the entire divine realm are projected, and a large black mass is swarming from all directions. After these lizardmen shooters fired a dozen waves of arrows, the fish people were already within a range of 50 meters. The lizardmen were still thinking about shooting 2 more waves and then flying kites at a distance. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the first batch of fish, the speed of the man suddenly increased sharply, and he rushed through the 50-meter distance in the blink of an eye like a warrior charging, and slammed into the group of lizardmen archers who were caught off guard. For Lin Xiao, these 2 levels are not difficult at all. It is true that he has too many family members now. Not to mention the black-scaled Naga, there are more than 2,000 murlocs alone, and this alone is enough to pass the 3 eliminations. In less than 2 minutes, the murlocs swarmed the lizardmen archers. The second wave. That's the end of it. The black-scaled Naga, the actual main force of God's domain, didn't even move. Several leaders of the black-scaled Naga shouted to let the gray-scaled murlocs who were injured and exhausted after stabbing the salted fish retreat, and the other murlocs cluttered together in several square formations to guard behind the portal, waiting for the third wave of enemies to come. In the void, Wu Hai just left the half-plane of a student of his own. Thinking of the performance of this student family just now, he shook his head. In terms of strength, it is not bad. There are nearly 1,000 grayskin tree frogmen in total, and many of them are first-level tree frogmen warriors. However, facing the impact of only 500 kobolds, the battle was so difficult. The kobold warlock won. A fireball exploded, and there was a frogman backing away in fright. What does this mean? This shows that this student's cultivation of God's domain family is seriously unqualified. In terms of the scale of the family, it is up to the standard, but it is seriously unqualified in terms of family beliefs. They fight for the gods they believe in, and even if they have an advantage, there are still people who run away. Wu Hai shook his head. Of course, with the comprehensive strength of this student's family, he can pass the 3 tests and not be eliminated, but in his heart he can already judge that this student has a limited future. As a God reserve, the most important thing is the management of believers' beliefs, and the most important thing for gods is belief. If you can't even manage your own family's beliefs, what will you use to conquer the natives in the exotic plains in the future? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but think of Lin Xiao in the class. His family in the divine realm was running very well. All the family members were all true believers. The ratio of devout believers to mad believers was quite high. Also number 1. Although Wan Chuan and Yuan Hong are stronger than Lin Xiao, they are not as good as Lin Xiao in terms of cultivating believers, and they are not as talented as him in this regard. In the eyes of senior demigods and above, the ability to cultivate believers' beliefs is also a kind of talent, which is a hidden talent. The school has theoretical courses to teach this knowledge. The main world has hundreds of thousands of years of history, and I don't know how many gods have been born. There are thousands of courses on how to cultivate believers' beliefs. Except for classrooms, there are a lot of free online searchables. This is not the case. Secret. However, even if they all train believers in accordance with the theoretical courses, the effect of different students is different in the same way. This is very strange. There are many powerful true gods, including a certain great power, who have studied this issue, but in the end, nothing has been studied. In the end, the great existence only said one sentence. Cultivating faith is also a talent. In Wu Hai's eyes, Lin Xiao's talent in this area is very unusual. Thinking of this, the head teacher Wu Hai suddenly stopped and changed his direction in the Wanchuan plain. He suddenly wanted to take a look at the current performance of this classmate. He remembered that this classmate performed very well in the last preliminary test. His family was a murloc, but his powerful explosive skills impressed him deeply. He wondered if he could continue to perform well in this final exam. In the north of the half-plane, a 3-meter-high portal stands on the wasteland. With the waves, a body size of about 1.89 meters is about 1.89 meters. The physique is very strong, and the pig-headed pig man walked out of it. Pigs are a type of orcs, a member of the median race of orcs. Their individual strength is stronger than that of humans, but their strength is limited. The strength of their race lies in their strong reproductive ability, which is also one of the best in the entire orc group. The enemy in the third wave is the pigmen. Because of their strength, the total number is not much larger than the second wave. There are only 300 ordinary pigmen and 30 elite pigmen warriors, but the overall strength is far beyond the first wave. Second wave. The threat level of this wave is about 70 to 80% of Lin Xiao's extra test in the bottom-up test. He can even pass the extra test. Not to mention, his current family is far stronger than before. More than 300 pigmen came out of the portal and gathered in front of the door. 30 elite pigmen held up weapons such as hammers and sticks and roared loudly. With a simple mobilization, they rushed towards the crowd of black fish. Above the sky, the golden light enveloped Lin Xiao, who could not be seen by mortals, leaned forward and looked down, pinched his chin and thought about it, opened his mouth, and issued a divine message. The group of fish who were preparing to countercharge suddenly stopped and quickly separated. Hundreds of black-scaled nagas swam out with their fine iron short spears, their long tails swayed, and their thick scales rubbed on the sand. Dispersed under the shouts of several naga leaders, they charged towards the rushing pigs. Chapter 32 The first actual combat of the black-scale naga. These 3 levels are almost over, and the main battle family has not yet started. And seeing that the third pass can be passed by the servant fishmen alone, Lin Xiao has to issue a divine decree and let the main battle family do it himself. He thinks take a look at the actual combat power of this new species, which has been synthesized by so many 5-star cards. A good heart has a bottom line, so as to avoid miscalculation of strength during the final exam of the second stage, which will lead to additional losses. The black-scaled naga moves in the same way as a snake. The long tail of the lower body swings back and forth, like swimming. The faster the swing frequency, the faster the speed. At this time, Lin Xiao clasped his hands together and stared at the rapidly approaching naga and pigmen. In the divine metaphor just now, he forbade naga from using skills, otherwise a wave of salted fish would stab the other party directly. Fart. 50 meters, 40 meters, 10 meters, 5 meters, from the air, the two curved front lines have collided and staggered quickly. A pig man first hit a Naga's waist with a hammer, the thick black scales shattered and flew away, and a large piece of flesh in his fist was smashed into rotten flesh, and the Naga made a strange sound that did not sound like a scream. With a sharp bend, the body twisted into a huge arc that ordinary people can't twist to release the remaining strength, bent down like a snake, almost turned around and stood up again, and stabbed the pig man's chest with a spear with the force of the rebound. Passed through the chest. On the other side, a Naga and a pigman collided almost at the same time. Unexpectedly, the Naga, who seemed to be thinner, just leaned back and bounced back, but the pigman stumbled directly to the side. He took a few steps back and almost lost his footing. Just after stabilizing her figure, Naga, who had the upper hand, raised her left and right hands at the same time, and poked her two fine iron short spears at the same time. One spear stabbed the chest, the other spear stabbed the lower abdomen, all of them passed through the body, and blood rushed all over him. Black Scale Naga's special ape arm allows them to dual-wield two-handed weapons at the same time, and naturally dual-wielded one-handed weapons. The effect of this skill is to cancel the punishment of holding two-handed weapons at the same time. Normal people can raise two two-handed axes with their left and right hands at the same time as long as they have enough strength, but raising them is one thing, and using them for battle is another. Without enough strength and professional training, the consequence of holding two-handed weapons at the same time is that you will not be able to hit people, the power consumption will be doubled, and the strength will soon be lost, and the joints of both hands will become sore, which is fatal in battle. The Naga shouted angrily and lifted the pigman high and threw it out violently, with a faint blood gleam in his pupils. This is the bloodthirsty inherited from the Null has taken effect. It happened that a pig man with a knife slammed into it, and even the man and the knife slammed into Naga's waist. The sound of clang shot straight up. A row of scales were cut open to reveal the skin underneath, and a faint trace of blood was revealed. The knife wounded the body. The angry Naga's long snake tail jumped to a height of more than 4 meters, and the two spears prodded from the height, and the pig man was stabbed to the ground on the spot. Wounded, but the other spear plunged directly over the pig's head, killing him on the spot. It is good. Seeing this scene, Lin Xiao couldn't help clapping his hands in admiration. At this time, the actual combat ability displayed by the Black Scale Naga was beyond his expectations. Strong strength combined with not weak agility, top-level defense at the same level. The most unexpected thing is that Nagana inherited the shape of the Snake Man, which is too strong in dodging and unloading. However, it is not without its shortcomings, that is, the frontal resistance to impact is insufficient, that is, the resistance to the face is not good. If you face the charge of some powerful races, it will be a bit of a disadvantage. There is no way to do this. After all, the species that has just been created has not evolved once, so it cannot be perfect, and it will not be perfect in the future. Moreover, at this time, Lin Xiao had a little inspiration for Naga's future evolution direction. This species is suitable for a stronger war. The so-called strong combat flow is a strong melee physical flow, inspired by the 6-armed snake demon. If this species can be evolved to the level of 6 arms per capita, and the physique is comparable to the 6-armed snake demon, it will be an out-and-out legendary species. The 6-armed snake demon is the top demon in the abyss. It has 6 arms and 6 weapons. It is the strongest in physical melee combat. Ordinary giant dragons are not its opponents. If this species can evolve into such a powerful race, it will be amazing. In the time of his thoughts, the situation on the battlefield was almost a one-sided defeat, and the Naga quickly gained the upper hand by virtue of their innate and quantitative advantages. Their scale armor is not very strong, and they are completely unstoppable by blunt hammer weapons, but their defense against sharp weapons is good enough to withstand the pigmen's full-strength knife only with ease. According to the strength of the pigmen, it is equivalent to completely resisting the full force of a human adult man. Pigmen are stronger than humans in strength. Nowadays, Lin Xiao's level generally does not encounter two powerful races. The defense of this level is already extremely powerful, and it is very dominant in the melee. Lin Xiao didn't pay too much attention to the next battle. The battle had already been decided in the first round of frontal battles between the two sides. Naga victory, it is inevitable. He stood in the air with his arms around him, watching with joy as his family quickly cleaned up the remaining pigs, and said to himself, "It's a pity that the projection can't gain experience, otherwise the 3 waves of tests are over. How can a group of Naga warriors come out, and the next test will be easier? What are they called and how many levels can they be upgraded?" "Naga, can ascend." Lin Xiao paused and turned around abruptly. I don't know when the head teacher appeared behind him, looking at the battlefield below with shock and frenzy eyes he had never seen before. To be precise, he was observing his family, and he didn't even look away when he asked him what to say. Lin Xiao didn't answer for a while. Wu Hai looked up. The frenzy in his eyes made him feel creepy. The head teacher asked softly in a soft voice, "Student Lin Xiao, where did your race called Naga come from?" I don't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that the head teacher's voice seemed to tremble a little, and there was a never-before-seen expectation in his tone. He pondered for a while, then said, "This is a new species I created some time ago. Because it looks the same as Naga, I named it Black Scale Naga." 9 points of his words are true, and 1 point is false. He did not dare to hide them, nor did he make any excuses, but told the truth. There is no point in hiding it. It would be stupid to keep a low profile at the stage of the final exam, or after the first year of high school. Blindly low-key, will only miss the opportunity. Properly show your strength, you can get more attention, and resource tilt. Whether it is this class or other classes, the best students can get the teacher's clear love and resources, and many unique resources are difficult to obtain outside. Lin Xiao wants to be the most beautiful boy in the whole class and even the whole grade. It has to be appropriately loud. Chapter 33 Shock and Admonition from the Head Teacher. As he expected, when he personally admitted that this was the new species he had created, he clearly felt the teacher's mental change in an instant, and he could see how the expression on the teacher's face changed from seriousness to ecstasy. Wu Hai turned his head and looked down at the black-scaled Naga who had killed all the pigs and was cleaning up the battlefield. His eyes were like a satyr seeing his most beloved goddess. He took a deep breath and looked back with ecstasy on his face. The color changed back to seriousness again, and asked in a deep voice, Have you condensed the priesthood of creation?" Lin Xiao knew why the teacher asked, and nodded solemnly. "Yes, just wait until I become a demigod, and I can get the additional priesthood of creation, as well as the racial priesthood of this species." "Very good." With a smile on Wu Hai's face, he patted his shoulder lightly and said, "Wait a minute, there will be additional assessments. The old principal will start the endless mode. You can do your best, stick to it as long as you can. The last 10, you can get a 5-star card. If you are in the top 3, you can get the old principal himself. Of rare cards, including God's domain cards and occupational cards." After a pause, he seemed to have thought of something and put on a strange expression, and continued. "With the strength of your family, in terms of overall strength, you are no less than Wanchuan and Yuanong, ranking in the top 20 of the whole grade, but I hope you can stick to the last 3, and then you will enter the sight of the old principal. It's possible to get a spot at a super freshman summer camp if..." Wu Hai obviously didn't finish his words, but Lin Xiao understood what he meant in seconds. Just by looking at the class teacher seeing how exaggerated the performance of the black-scaled Naga, he knew that the significance of creating a new species by himself is definitely not the increase in strength on the surface, but there must be other meanings. If you can enter the sight of the old principal, it will definitely be of great benefit. Only, he answered earnestly, "I try my best." He didn't dare to say this. Wu Hai said that his current comprehensive strength ranked in the top 20 of the grade, but he wanted him to take the top 3. An individual must try his best, but others will definitely work hard. He can only do his best, and he has no idea whether he can get the top 3. Speaking of this, Lin Xiao was also secretly shocked. His 500 Naga plus more than 2,000 Murlocs could only rank in the top 20 of the whole grade, not even the top 10. Among the classmates of the whole grade, he was really Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, stronger than he expected. "I still don't have enough accumulation, it would be better if it took a little longer." However, Lin Xiao didn't mean to be a pity. The comprehensive strength was only superficial strength, and who was the strongest depended on the actual combat. The teacher can't see the specific attributes of the black-scaled Naga, and of course he doesn't know the various talents and specialties possessed by his family, as well as the promotion limit. Lin Xiao's plan is to try to perform as hard as possible. If you fail, don't be discouraged. Anyway, as long as you are in the top 10, you will be rewarded. The top 3 are the best. It doesn't matter if you don't. Are the rewards better? This is obviously not the case, otherwise it will be the mastermind. Now this is just a knockout, just an appetizer for the final exam. The old principal can't get too precious rewards. In a certain half-plane, Sang Ping, who was full of confidence before the elimination level, looked pale and depressed at the half-plane, watching more than 100 pigmen scattered in the half-plane, chasing and killing his remaining shortage. 100 relatives. Although they are similar in number, their relatives are dwarfs, which are small humanoid monsters, small, with pointed ears, green eyes and a distorted smile. The weapons are specially equipped small mace and short javelin. His preparations are much better than Lin Xiao, but he is far less than Lin Xiao with the cultivation of his family. After more than 20 years of preparation, he has accumulated a total of more than 1,600 dwarfs. It is conceivable that only half the height of the pigmen is in combat. The first 2 waves have performed well, and the battle damage is only about a quarter, but in the end, the pigmen came out, and 1 round of charges defeated the formation. More than 1,200 dwarfs were reluctant to deal with 300 pigs. At the critical moment, a small part of the family members were not firm enough to escape under the threat of pigs and collapsed directly. The half-plane is so big, there is nowhere to escape. The family has not yet died, but Sang Ping has foreseen his failure. He, who usually ranks in the top 20 in the class, has not even passed the elimination stage. He can already foresee the surprised eyes of his classmates after the final exam. In another half-plane, more than 30 goblins covered in blood worked together to kill the last pig man. All the goblins sat on the ground exhausted, descending from the heights, and the empty wasteland was full of corpses. In the air of the half-plane, a golden figure sat in the void, stretched out his hand to wipe off a handful of sweat that did not exist, and exhaled a long breath, feeling like the rest of his life. This situation occurs in different half-planes. Some persist until the end and fail, some struggle to pass the level, and some are powerful enough to kill all pigs, and there are some planes. There was no one at this time, and it had been eliminated long before the 3rd pass. In the half-plane where Lin Xiao was located, as the last pig man was killed, a prompt popped up in front of him. Student Lin Xiao, congratulations on passing the final exam of this year's senior year, you have been promoted. After this prompt lasted for more than 10 seconds, the following new prompt appeared. Please make a choice within 15 seconds, choose to leave the return now, or choose to continue the extra challenge. Those with excellent extra challenge results will receive extra rewards, and the extra challenge results will not be counted in the elimination stage. Make a choice and leave by default. A countdown appeared after the prompt, and it was counting down rapidly. Lin Xiao immediately said, I take the extra challenge. The extra challenge mode is the endless mode. It will start in 10 minutes. Please prepare yourself, Mr. Lin Xiao. Endless mode. He was quite surprised. The so-called endless mode is an endless test. The portal will continue to pour out monsters without stopping. It will not stop until the tester is killed. It is generally used for extreme challenges. Of course, this is also the easiest test to force out the absolute strength of the challenger. Whoever persists the longest is naturally the strongest. The head teacher Wu Hai also received a reminder. He kindly patted Lin Xiao on the shoulder and said, Endless mode was proposed by the old principal. You can go all out to show your potential. I won't bother you. After speaking, he took a step back and exited the half-plane, and it was considered a foul. I will. Lin Xiao nodded, and his expression became solemn when he looked into the half-plane. After a little contemplation, he issued a divine message to all the family members in the half-plane. Evil has rioted. Darkness is coming. Brave warriors, I watch you in heaven. Take up arms, and defeat evil. Chapter 34 Lin Xiao's Special Be Chief. Under the blessing of consuming thousands of beliefs, when his plain voice appeared in the ears of believers, it was as deafening as thunder and shocking. Lin Xiao has studied many books on the communication between gods and believers, and has also referred to many classic speeches on the earth in previous lives, including many masters' quotations and success, and he has some experience on how to arouse the emotions of believers. I don't know if it's because of the different worlds, but he found that the successful application of many previous masters is very useful in the management of believers. As long as the application is changed, the effect is quite good. The master's successful study, coupled with his talent and devout belief, combined with the three, he can always use simple language and art to arouse the emotions of believers and make them fight high. The divine decree was issued, and the clans of the half-planes were as energetic as they were beaten with blood. Several Naga leaders shouted loudly to mobilize the Murlocs to gather not far from the portal, waiting for them. 10 minutes passed in a blink of an eye, and as the portal opened, a large group of cowardly demons with a height of about 1 meter 3 or 4, with cyan-colored skin, emerged from it and rushed towards the crowd of fish not far away. The fish people, who had been waiting impatiently for a long time, screamed and waved their weapons eagerly, but they did not dare to rush out without the order of the Naga leader. When the group of about 500 cowardices rushed to less than 10 meters away, a Naga leader waved his short spear fiercely and roared, and 700 or 800 Murlocs who were waiting impatiently swarmed the group of cowardice demons to stop. According to the school encyclopedia, the cowardice is a kind of otherworldly demon who is inherently stupid and slow-moving. It is about 1.3 meters tall and has a pair of claws, but its combat effectiveness is very low, mainly relying on its own talent for damage reduction and crowd tactics. Resist the enemy, just like goblins. When there are more companions, they are more courageous, and when there are few companions, they become less courageous. So when the other groups of Murlocs rushed over to surround it, the cowardly nature of cowardice took the upper hand, shrinking into a pile of passive beatings. I have to say that cowardice's passive damage reduction talent is really powerful. It seems that the defense is not high, and there are no thick scales or cuticles on the surface of the body, but the effect of poking the Murloc is not as good as expected. It's like there is a tough film all over the body blocking part of the damage. Moreover, although cowardice's strength is very low in the encyclopedia, this low is also relative. After all, it is a demon. In fact, Lin Xiao was surprised to find that these cowardly demons had stronger combat power than Murlocs. More than 1,000 Murlocs were besieged, but they managed to carry them down, and as the cowards gradually discovered that the Murlocs who besieged them were not strong, they became more courageous and started a counterattack, fighting back and forth with the Murlocs, which made Lin Xiao stunned. A few minutes passed, and the portal suddenly reacted again. A circle of faint light waves swayed open, arched, and a group of cowardly demons drilled out of it. The besieged cowardly demon saw that there was support from his companions, his morale soared, and he even had the courage to launch a counterattack. Lin Xiao frowned, but he didn't say anything. He didn't interfere with the command of his family. The gods hurting believers need to be measured, and command their relatives to fight when they have something to do. This is not something a qualified god would do. Moreover, another 500 cowardice demons are not enough to pose a threat to his family. It will only make the family feel threatened and make a correct response. In the half-plane, Yuan Hong stood above the sky and looked down at the earth, watching groups of cowardly demons being harvested by waves of arrows shot by his family, his face expressionless. After decades of development, his family swamp lizardmen tribe has approached as many as 3,200, including more than 1,000 lizardmen archers. In the early stage, everyone is a low-level race, and the enemies they face are basically low-level races. Occasionally, they will encounter intermediate races, but not many. Archers have very high strategic value at this stage. Thousands of archers have a wave of arrows. When the rain falls, the average classmates and relatives are estimated to be able to shoot directly. He passed the first 3 elimination tests almost unscathed, and the current endless mode extra test is temporarily unscathed. Arrows rained down from the sky, and waves of cowardly demons fell in the middle of the charge without even getting close. Originally, Yuan Hong didn't think about continuing to accept additional tests. As the son of true God, he had long known that the additional tests after eliminating 3 levels would only randomly reward him with a 5-star card, which was not attractive to him. It was mainly because he received a reminder from the head teacher just now that he was interested in knowing that this extra test was mentioned by the old principal. It doesn't matter what the reward is, and the top 3 rewards are not necessary for him. What he values most is the place in the super freshman summer camp. This is very important to him, and he must do his best to strive for it. Just as he thought, Wan Chuan was also interested in continuing to accept the challenge of the endless mode because of the places in the super freshman summer camp, otherwise he was ready to return after eliminating 3 levels. A total of 4 students in the class were reminded by Wu Hai, except Wan Chuan and Yuan Hong, as well as Lin Xiao and Meng Wei. Other students did not have the teacher's reminder, and basically they felt that they could not compete with other outstanding students after the 3rd pass, chose to return. It's not that the teacher is biased. He will remind any student who has the opportunity. After all, they are his own students. No matter who gets the honor, it is the same to him. After observing the comprehensive strength of the students, Wu Hai believes that only these 4 students are likely to enter the top 10, and the other students have no chance, and the remaining strength is not enough, so there is no need to waste this time. Not only the 3rd class, but the 10 classes in high school are basically the same, and there are less than 50 students in total who are considered by the teacher to have the opportunity to stay. These 50 students are basically the best group of students this year in the eyes of each class teacher. Not surprisingly, most of them can be selected into the elite class after the final exam. The final exam is not over yet, but in the eyes of the class teachers, the members of the elite class have basically been booked. Lin Xiao is honored to have been recognized as a member of the elite class by the class teacher, and it is predicted that his ranking will be quite high. But he didn't know that his potential was higher in the eyes of the head teacher than he imagined. At this time, he was overlooking the battlefield in a half-plane, watching groups of ferocious wild boars in the abyss break out of the portal after the wave of cowardice had just been cleaned up, and a violent charge rushed the crowd of fish to pieces. It was a beast as tall as a horse, its back swelled like a steep slope, its small red eyes were filthy, and its body covered with black steel hairs was surrounded by devil flies the size of fingers. This thing is that after the violent wild boar entered the abyss, it was corroded by the will of the abyss, becoming more brutal and bigger than its already brutal close relatives. Some demons like to tame such beasts as mounts, and there are also specialized fierce boar riders in the abyss. When they charge in groups, they are comparable to human cavalry. Chapter 35 Naga's Growth. The Murlocs were completely powerless in the face of such brutal monsters, but they suffered the first wave of shocks that slowed down the speed of the abyss's ferocious wild boars, and the Naga, who had been waiting in battle, launched a charge. The salted fish thorns gave them 5 times the outbreak, and each Naga swayed their bodies quickly. The thick scales rubbed against the wasteland gravel and sparks splashed. All the way sparks and lightning rushed into the abyss's ferocious wild boars, and the abyss fierce wild boars were killed one by one. It crashed 3 or 4 meters away, and even the pig and the spear were nailed to the ground. But the power of the abyss gave the violent wild boar a powerful vitality, so that it was still not dead, and turned over and tried to get up. And those wild boars in the abyss felt the threat of the Naga, and turned their heads with irritable screams. Small bloodshot eyes glared at the mouth full of fangs, their hoofs digging hard, and they bowed their heads and slammed over. The fierce abyss wild boar charges very fast, but the speed of the Naga is not slow, and their bodies are too flexible, especially after learning from the previous combat experience. When the abyss violent wild boar collided, the snake-shaped body moved towards with a violent twist on the side. His body almost touched the ground. The abyss's violent wild boar slammed into the air, and his limbs slammed into Naga's snake-tailed body. The body suddenly lost its balance and was placed on the ground. A groove with blood and broken fangs. After many battles, the Naga began to gradually tap their talents and formed their own unique fighting style. This kind of in situ dodging is really too confusing. An unexpected dodge in the battle of lightning and flint can completely bring about unexpected results. Even if the abyss's violent wild boar's skin is thick and fleshy, this wave of shoveling the ground with its face is very uncomfortable. Many of them can't get up after sliding to the head, and the Naga step forward to make up for it easily. But this wave of fierce abyss wild boars persisted for more than 5 minutes. The portal opened again, and the next wave of intruders had arrived. A group of berserkers with a total of 200. I don't know if the teleportation location is from the abyss of a certain crystal wall system. Almost all the monsters that have appeared in this endless mode until now are abyss creatures, and each wave is stronger than the next. Although this wave of berserkers is small in number, the threat is far higher than any previous wave. As a common type of cannon fodder in the abyss, the berserker is tall, about 2 meters tall, with a thick layer of horny armor all over its body, with a disgusting stench all over its body, and its combat effectiveness is extremely sturdy. As soon as he came out of the portal, the corpses and slaughter all over the ground made him let out a roar of pleasure, and he rushed towards the Murlocs and Naga excitedly. The Naga were not afraid. Several leaders raised their spears and shouted, and many Murlocs rushed up under their control. The two sides approached quickly, and each and every one Murlocs violently rose within a range of nearly 50 meters, and collided with violent demons at super fast speed. The berserker didn't care about his own injuries at all, grinning with a pair of big claws, grabbing the Murlocs close to him and tearing them apart. Nearly 200 Murlocs were instantly killed on the spot. Not enough power. Even if the strength of the Murloc is multiplied by 5, it is not very high, and it is not enough to cause fatal damage to the demon with its own armor such as the berserker. This is a crushing gap. Without weapons and skills, just these 200 berserkers can easily slaughter tens of thousands of Murlocs. The Naga also realized this, and a Naga waved a short spear loudly and commanded the Murlocs to continue to attack, and at the same time commanded their companions to attack in coordination, using the Murlocs as cannon fodder for cover. A Murloc collided with the berserker and was torn in half. Taking this opportunity, a black-scaled Naga rushed forward and stabbed the berserk in the back with a spear. The backhand stabbed the demon's neck with another spear, poking out a spear hole that was similar to the Murloc's burst of salted fish thrusts, but shallower. The damage of Naga's basic attack is a little lower than that of Murloc burst, but this is only a normal attack, and it will not be exhausted and die like the Murloc exhausted. However, even if Naga is caught by the berserker, the end will be miserable. The physical quality of the berserker is much stronger than that of the Naga, and the physique is at least 2 points stronger. The armor defense is very high. According to the general evaluation of civilization, the berserk belongs to the second-level arms, the leader of the same level, and the strongest group. The black scale Naga belongs to the leader of the first-level arms, and the difference between the two is a whole level. If it weren't for Naga's fast speed and high dodge, I'm afraid that he would be destroyed on the spot. But after all, there is a level difference. The speed is limited, and no matter how high the dodge is, it is not 100% dodge. No, when a Naga body twisted to dodge, the berserker roared directly and rushed up to suppress the Naga. A pair of big sharp claws penetrated directly into the scales and inserted into the body. 10 fingers bent and pulled violently, tearing his body apart, and a large piece of flesh and internal organs were pulled out. On the other side, less than 2 meters away, 2 berserk demons grabbed a Naga. One held down the upper body and bit his neck, and the other pierced the snake's tail with its paw, and with a violent pull, the snake's tail was sharpened. His claws were cut into 6 bloody meat skewers. On the side, the 3 Naga knocked a rampage over to the ground, and 6 fine iron short spears stabbed the rampage's face in the chest at the same time, and one of them penetrated directly from the stench-filled mouth. The angry berserker turned over and grabbed a Naga, and abruptly took off the entire head of the Naga, but he was also thrown 4 or 5 meters high by the tail of the other Naga, and he stabbed him condescendingly with a spear. In the head, through the brain and eye. On the battlefield, it takes almost 2 or 3 Naga to barely resist a berserker, and it is not a sure win, and the Murlocs are completely unable to get involved. Occasionally, I see berserker being knocked down and rushing up to try to get a bargain, but the result is to keep it for the opponent. Next wound, and then die without a whole body. This is still the result of the outbreak of the salted fish stab, and the normal attack cannot break the defense at all. The fighting power of the berserker was beyond Lin Xiao's expectations. He stood on the sky and looked down at the battlefield. Even from his perspective, he could not see which side had the upper hand for a while. It's a pity that the cooldown time of the salted fish stab is 10 minutes. Most of the Naga have used the skills in the last wave. Compared with his steady expression, classmate Meng Wei in another plane looked at the situation in the plane, and his face was extremely gloomy. Before the final exam, he had accumulated more than 2,000 kobolds, and personally lowered his avatar to train an army of more than 1,000 kobolds in a formal manner. He thought he would perform well in the final exam, but he did as he expected. He performed very well in the previous levels, so much so that when he heard the reward for the extra level from the head teacher later, he still wondered if he was in a hurry, rushed to the end, and thus a blockbuster. However, when Endless Mode activates the 5th wave, he finds that his dream is about to be shattered. Chapter 36: The Gamble Between Teachers. My own kobold army is quite effective against the same low-level races, and can achieve 1 enemy 2 or even higher, but when facing a large number of powerful enemies, it begins to show a huge racial disadvantage. It is not that he has not tried a single powerful opponent. He prepared a monster card and summoned a trial in God's domain, and the effect was not bad. But I have never tried a large-scale intermediate level or higher species to test the family, except that I don't have the resources. I don't dare. After all, it is in the realm of the gods. If it gets out of control, it will be over. Now he knew how effective the kobold army he had trained was against a formidable enemy, a total rout. Yes, it lasted a while at the beginning, but as more and more kobolds were killed, the morale began to drop, and the morale of the demons would get higher and higher with the killing, and finally collapsed. It was really a knife for a child to kill a kobold by a tall and powerful berserker. The cruel picture made the remaining kobolds drop even faster. Until now, he has been completely defeated, and there are still 500 or 600 kobolds left, but he is chased and killed by the remaining 170 or 80 violent demons, and it is only a matter of time before he is killed. Meng Wei, eliminated. On the plane where Yuan Hong was, at this time he had also entered a wave of violent demons. Compared with Meng Hui's complete defeat, he was in a much better state at this time. Compared with Meng Hui's single melee combat, his divine domain has integrated an archer professional card, and nearly half of the family lizardmen have been transferred to lizardmen archers. The reason why they didn't transfer all of them was that the long-range profession of an archer had to create suitable combat conditions for melee combat. Pure long range was strong, but the enemy could only be slaughtered when he got close. In addition to changing careers, the biggest advantage of the career card is that the lizardmen who have changed careers can not only kill enemies to increase their class level, but also improve their professional level through training. Now there are more than 1,000 lizardmen archers, and there are hundreds of them. There are dozens of first-level shooters and even second-level shooters, which are his core cards. With this elite team of archers, after paying huge casualties, they finally grinded down 1 violent demon to death. At this time, the battle had come to an end. But he was not too happy, because in order to resist this violent demon, most of the lizardmen in melee combat died, more than 2/3. According to the rule that waves are stronger than waves in the endless mode, the remaining lizardmen are absolutely unable to resist the impact of the next wave of enemies, which means that it is difficult for them to block the next wave of enemies. Fortunately, it is difficult to persevere with their own strength, and other students are even more difficult. The next wave is estimated to be the time to divide the order. The head teacher of the first class, Chao Liang, was standing in front of 1.5 with his arms and arms. He was in a good mood when he saw the smile on his face. Suddenly he looked up in a certain direction, as if he was communicating with someone. You think too much. Yan Renji in your class can pass the level, how could Wan Ying in my class not pass the level? In the half-plane in front of his eyes, thousands of harpies waving their wings were suspended in midair, constantly shooting arrows, and dozens of berserkers were left on the ground, roaring up to the sky, and the anger on their faces could not be added. However, they can't fly, and they don't even have throwing weapons in their hands. They have no choice but to be slaughtered by the enemy flying in the sky. The overall situation has been decided. Chao Liang withdrew his eyes and said with a smile. This time, the first and second of the extra customs are definitely for Wan Ying and Yan Renji. As for the third, it's hard to say. In another half-plane which is a certain distance away, the second-class teacher Zheng Yifan nodded and replied. Should we take a bet? If we don't bet on 1 and 2, we will bet on who is third. Whoever loses will get 3 5-star cards for your Wanying or my Yan Renji. Okay. I'm optimistic about Li Qing in my class. How about you? Is it Tian Wei or Yao Shuangxi from your class? Zheng Yifan had expected it long ago and said with a smile. You guessed wrong this time. I'm optimistic about Yuan Hong from class 3. Yuan Hong. Yes. Zheng Yifan looked at the half-plane in front of him and murmured. After all, it's a shooter profession. As long as the next wave is not a thick armor type like Berserker, the probability of sticking to the next level is very high. In the half-plane, a large group of lizardmen archers who are exactly the same as the Yuanong family but with a much smaller number are resting on the ground covered with corpses. The slight difference from the Yuanong family's lizardmen is that this kind of lizardman has red skin, not blood was red, but red like lava flames. If Lin Xiao was here, he would definitely be shocked to say the name of this race, lava lizardmen. This is a mutant lizardman who lives on the edge of volcanoes or lava fields. It belongs to a middle-level mutant race. After acquiring this race, Yan Renji loaded the professional template of archer, and transferred to a powerful profession called lava archer. Unlike the lizardman archer, the lava archer's attack comes with additional fire damage, as well as the lava armor piercing effect. The wave of berserkers just now shot through the armor with the lava armor piercing effect, plus additional fire damage, and shot to death. In Lin Xiao's half-planet, this wave of battle is coming to an end. Under the prompting of Lin Xiao, the Naga used the remaining murlocs as cannon fodder to attract the attention of the berserker, and dragged it to the cooling of the salted fish's thorn. Bo broke out and killed nearly half of the berserkers on the spot, and the remaining ones were seriously injured, and they were no longer Naga's opponents. In the test, players can't take action in person. After all, they can pass the 3 levels with the powerful single person of the divine creature, but they can cast magical techniques to assist, naturally including off-site guidance. After all the berserk demons were beheaded, the battle was over, and the next wave of monsters had not yet come out. Although it is an endless mode, there are still rules, and the interval will gradually increase with each wave. The first wave only had a 1-minute cooldown, the previous wave had a 5-minute cooldown, and this wave of berserkers had a 6-minute cooldown, which was equivalent to adding 1 minute of rest and preparation time after passing a level. While there was still time, Lin Xiao conveyed the next wave of tactics to several Naga leaders in the form of divine metaphors. No matter how urgent the situation is, you can't mess around. Some players can't wait to take action in such a situation. When they are in a hurry, they will do stupid things to directly command their family members. This is very unwise. The commanding ability of the gods is not necessarily very good. The correct way is only to communicate with the leader of the family. As the actual commander, the leader is on the battlefield and has a very good understanding of the situation. Combined with the gods in God mode, you can see the leader. In places that are not reachable, the combination of the two naturally increases the winning rate. Lin Xiao knew very well that his talent in commanding was very general, so he did not directly instruct his family on how to fight, but let them use his greatest advantage. As long as you take advantage of your greatest strengths, it's not difficult to go through another wave. Chapter 37 The Sixth Wave with a Huge Gap. In the half-plane, Wan Chuan commanded his family, and the remaining more than 2,000 stone-hearted halflings stood guard at the teleportation gate. Stoneheart halflings are a variant of halflings. They are no different from halflings in terms of individual quality, but they have a talent that ordinary halflings don't have, that is, the Stoneheart talent, which can make them immune to charm and greatly increase their ability to deal with negative conditions such as fear, resistance, and morale drop slowed. In addition, Wanchuan loaded the Stoneheart halfling with a warrior profession. Each warrior was equipped with a chain mail, a short sword, a crossbow, and a small round shield, which can be said to be armed to the teeth. It is impossible to be unable to carry high-level family members, but it can make up for the combat power from other aspects. Armor and shield sword plus hand, can face almost any enemy, no shortcoming. With this heavily built equipment, he used his hard power to defeat all enemies head-on along the way. Even the last wave of berserkers was paying 500 or 600 stone-hearted halflings to carry them hard and shoot to death with a hand crossbow. 6 minutes later, the portal opened again, and he watched confidently as the portal light wave arched a human figure that didn't look very tall, a elf. No, half-elf. His face changed involuntarily, he gritted his teeth, and finally remembered what the teacher and his father taught, and did not interfere with the relatives who were fighting. As the half-elves with shields and swords walked out of the battlefield and formed an array in front of the portal, a Stoneheart halfling leader raised a short sword and shouted, "The Supreme Lord of the Earth, the Son of the Mountains is above, please bless your people, Kurgras, kill." The stone halfling warriors who had been prepared for a long time pressed the crossbow in their hands, and a series of intensive, Boom, blah, sounds sounded, and short arrows flew out of the sky, and a series of snatch sounds sounded, and the half-elf round shield was full of short and small arrows. The crossbow arrows, the steppe warriors who could not be protected occasionally were shot, but the seemingly ordinary leather armor on his body was not ordinary leather armor, but magic leather armor. A layer of clear light flashed, and many crossbow arrows were shot, but they all bounced out. A wave of arrows rained without success. The stone-hard halfling leader swung his sword violently, and the second wave of arrows flew out. At this time, more than 200 and a half-elf warriors had come out of the portal, forming a semicircle to protect the portal. Then, in Wanchuan's gloomy eyes, half-elves with long bows walked out, pulling their bows' arrows. Arrows roared across the battlefield. The sound of clang shot the round shield in the hand of a stone-hard halfling, and the aftermath hit the stone-hard halfling's chest, passed through the chain mail, and penetrated into the flesh several times. Elf is a high-level legendary race. Although half-elf is not as powerful as elves, it is also a middle race. Whether it is wisdom or potential, it is the top of the middle race. Although Lin Xiao's black-scaled Naga is also a medium race, it is still far from a half-elf. When the half-elf archer appeared, Wan Chuan couldn't bear it any longer, and gave a divine message to his family. The remaining 2,000 stone-hearted halflings charged the half-elf under the command of the leader. Before, he also wanted to use the hand crossbow equipped with his family to kill a wave first, but now it seems that it is himself who is killed remotely. As a god, how could you not know what elves are most famous for in housekeeping? Few races can shoot elves in long-range shooting, even if they are only half-elves. As soon as the Stoneheart halfling moved, the half-elf warrior immediately advanced forward to expand the defensive range, and kept a distance from the half-elf archers behind. One by one, the half-elf walked out of the portal. Take a halfling's life. 200 and a half-elf warriors would certainly not be able to block 2,000 Stoneheart halflings, but it would certainly be fine to resist them for a while, during that time. When the 300th half-elf came out of the portal, the first half-elf archer had shot the 18th arrow, and the rectangular phalanx of the Stoneheart halfling had been shot alive with a groove and hollow. 700 or 800 corpses fell on the battlefield. The loss of Kung Fu this time will soon catch up with the loss of the last wave of annihilation of the Berserker. And this loss continues to expand. Every time the bow and arrow are drawn, hundreds of family members are killed. Losing. Wan Chuan shook his head regretfully. Although there were more relatives than half-elves left, the outcome was already determined. On the plain of Yuanhong, the whole plain was deserted at this time. Only Yuan Hong stood alone on the plain of the sky and looked at the half-elves who were returning to the portal one after another. The sixth wave, which he didn't expect, was not some kind of demon, but a half-elf, a 302nd level professional half-elf senior shooter. His more than 1,000 lizardmen shooters shot against it and were directly crushed. After that, there was no more. After losing the shot, the other lizards were the targets, and they were shot to death one by one, and there was no way to fight back. In another plane, they are also lizardmen archers, but the lizardmen in this plane have red skin, and the arrows they shoot are red like rockets. Arrows hit the shield and melt the shield directly. Make a small hole. Although they are slightly inferior to half-elves in archery, they are almost the same, and they have an advantage in numbers. This group of lava lizard shooters just narrowly beat the half-elves in head-to-head shooting. In the end, only less than 50 lava lizards survived. Shooter. Yan Renji deserves to be one of the 2 strongest students in the whole grade, and his hard power is indeed strong. As for the second grade, Class 1, Wan Ying, his family harpy is actually not as powerful as a lava lizard shooter. The reason why she is as famous as Yan Renji is because she has a hero, the Harpy King. This is the queen of the harpies, a long-range archer who shoots arrows with lightning damage. But the most powerful thing was not her lightning arrows, but the heroic spell Chain Lightning. She flew into the air with a thick arm of lightning, killing 40 or 50 half-elf shooters in an instant. The 1-minute cooldown was very short, and after only 3 waves, the half-elf shooter was crippled. At the beginning of the 6th wave, the winner and loser were decided in a short period of time. In 5 minutes, except for Yan Renji and Wan Ying, everyone else was almost wiped out. Except for Lin Xiao, the Naga and the Murlocs implemented his tactics, staying away from the portal from the beginning and spreading out to implement guerrilla tactics. Although the half-plane is so big, guerrilla tactics are also called waiting to die tactics, but his purpose is not really guerrilla, just delaying time. The half-elves directly occupied the center of the plane and began to slaughter the Naga and Murlocs scattered around the plane. Small groups of Nagas were killed by the half-elves with their superior strength, and the number dropped rapidly. Chapter 38. The head teacher Wu Hai looked at the only one in the class who looked like he was about to kneel, and couldn't help sighing. Meng Wei was eliminated early, Yuan Hong and Wan Chuan were also eliminated 1 minute ago, and now Lin Xiao has persisted the longest, but the difference in strength is too great. No matter how you look at it, it is impossible to make a comeback. But when I thought of 10 classes in the whole grade, Yan Renji and Wan Ying passed the test, and the other classes were wiped out. In the 4th minute, the skills of the Naga finally cooled down. The Naga leader hiding in the lower right corner of the plane raised his spear and howled, and a team of Naga scattered on the edge of the plane stopped at the same time as the scattered Murlocs. With anger in their eyes, they raised their weapons and turned to kill the half-elf in the center of the plane. The half-elf shooter didn't care, and still shot and killed the Murlocs and Naga who rushed up in an orderly manner. The scales of the black-scaled Naga are completely unable to resist the arrows of the half-elf. As long as they are hit, they will be injured, and if they are hit, they will die. In this short time, less than half of the Naga survived, and the Murlocs added up to less than 400. But Wu Hai was not optimistic about the Naga and the Murlocs in their early 60s, and felt that it was too late to fight back. Just at this moment, a golden light flew from a distance, and he turned back subconsciously and greeted him with a smile. In the half-plane, a group of about 70 or 80 Naga and 140 gray mist Murlocs rushed towards the half-elves in a way that ordinary people would see them die. A wave of arrows rained down 7 Naga and fell. More than 30 Murlocs were pinned directly to the ground and twitched. The half-elves elegantly drew an arrow from their backs, and were about to put on their bows. Suddenly, the Murlocs, who were burying their heads in the charge, all raised their heads, showing white teeth at the corners of their mouths. It slammed into the half-elves at super-fast speed. The half-elf warrior who had been slaughtering at the front for a long time and was somewhat paralyzed was startled. He raised his shield in a hurry, and felt a blackness in front of him. The strength caused them to stumble back involuntarily, and many fell directly to the ground. The sudden change surprised the half-elf at the back, and quickly drew the bow and pulled the string, subconsciously aiming the arrow at the Murloc who knocked over his companions. Swish, salvo. How could the weak Murlocs resist after the outbreak, and all of them were shot and killed. But before the half-elf warriors got up, the Naga who caught up decisively activated the salted fish thrusting skills, and the larger shadow directly knocked the half-elf warriors 4 or 5 meters away. The other half-elf warriors and the half-elf archers behind them were taken aback and hurriedly drew their arrows. However, the Naga and the Murlocs who were scattered at this time have already rushed over at this meeting. Black shadows of different sizes shot at the half-elves like arrows from the strings. One by one, the half-elves were knocked to the ground, suffering in pain, struggle. The half-elf's combat power is higher than that of the berserker, but it is far worse in terms of vitality. The magic attached to the leather armor of the bodyguard is to defend against long-range arrows, and there is no additional defense against melee physics. The Naga fish who came one by one broke out and stunned the half-elves, especially when the Naga fish were scattered before, and the half-elves occupied the center of the plane in order to better clear them. And now this has become their reminder. The attacks from all directions made them to not know where to defend, and their morale had already collapsed. Although it is a summoned creature, it is also a living and intelligent creature, and it also has high morale and fear. Outside the half-plane, the head teacher Wu Hai chatted with another head teacher, and turned around to comfort his students. When his eyes fell on the half-plane, his eyes almost popped out. Rubbing his eyes vigorously, he quickly flew over the half-plane and saw that the half-elf less than 30 in the half-plane was being chased and killed by Naga, and muttered to himself in disbelief. How is this possible? What happened? Quickly stretch out your finger a little, a water mirror emerges, and the picture just now appears on it, and it quickly rewinds to the picture 1 minute ago. Half a minute later, he suddenly slapped his thigh. It is good. In the time he observed, the half-elves who were less than 30 were finally killed by the Naga. The sixth wave, Lin Shao passed. At this time, the black-scale Naga in the plain is only about 120 or 30, and the Murlocs are only dead in single digits, which will definitely not pass the next level. He looked up at the half-plane and asked, "Teacher, where am I now?" The head teacher did not appear, but the voice came. "Third, thanks." He knew it. The figure shrouded in golden divine light slowly emerged, stretched out his hand and waved. The sky-blue starlight sprinkled little by little. The sea-water essence began to nourish their injured bodies, and the mighty voice was in the minds of all the living Naga and Murlocs. Sounded. "I have seen your strength and courage. My glory is even more brilliant because of you. In the name of Lord of the Sea, God of Naga and Murlocs, I give you glory." He stretched out his golden finger again, and looked at the belief value of his interface in the early 2 million, and said in his heart, "Promote." A full 1.31 million units of faith point consumption, turned into dazzling golden light gushing out from him, divided into 128 golden mist pillars falling from the sky, accurately fell on every living believer, injected into it. In the next second, all the living relatives recovered from their injuries, and their aura increased at a speed visible to the naked eye. "Lin Shao, Class 1 and 3, you have violated the exam rules. According to the regulations, you can no longer continue the next test. Your score will be based on the current score. If you have any objection, please file a complaint with the school after the test." Complaint: "Thank you for your cooperation." A sudden reminder, but as he expected, he smiled and closed the interface, and any Haoran force from nowhere tossed him away from the half-plane. With his remaining family members, he will definitely not be able to pass the next level. It is estimated that it will be the ending of a spike. It just so happened that he was already ranked in the top 3, 1 or 2 would definitely not need to think about it, it would be meaningless to stick to it, it would be better to use the waste to improve the faith of the family. According to Lin Shao's understanding, this situation is the best time to enhance the family's belief. Although it is a projection, what happened during the projection is known to the Naga and the Murlocs in the realm of the gods. Surviving a brutal battle to the end and being praised and rewarded by the gods of faith is unimaginable for the spiritual shock of the devout believers. By consuming 10 times the normal consumption of faith, he forcibly raised the level of all surviving clans by 1 level, all black-scaled Naga were promoted to 2nd-level Naga warriors, and all Murlocs were directly promoted twice, was promoted to the 2nd-level Murloc warrior. Chapter 39 Giving and Rewarding. The consumption of more than a little divine power's belief value may be reluctant for most students, saying that he is stupid and not worth it, but Lin Shao thinks it is worth it. Because when the promotion was completed, the line of belief between him and the 128 believers in the Sea of Divine became thicker. Whether they were true believers or devout believers before, they all became mad believers at this moment. 28 fanatics. The belief value provided by the black-scaled Naga race is higher than that of Murlocs, about 1/3 of that of humans, but when the belief value reaches the level of a mad believer, the belief value provided often cannot be viewed according to conventional laws. Normal human mad believers can provide between 50 and 100 faith points every day. It is reasonable to say that 1/3 is between 17 and 33 points, but in fact, the faith points that mad believers can provide every day are often more than with this value. It is possible to reach half of the human beings in a frenzy state. With these 128 mad believers, he can provide Lin Shao with 3,000 or 4,000 faith points every day, taking the median value of 3,000, which is more than 1.27 million a year. These Naga can live 50 years. After the upgrade, he can live for 60 years or even longer. If 10 years are removed, it is 50 years. In total, this lifetime can provide him with a total of 63.87 million faith points. And for him to fight the outer domain, reproduce, even if he dies and enters the kingdom of God, he can become a petitioner and continue to provide faith points. Well, maybe some will die in the middle, it's inevitable. But even so, even if it is only half of it, there are more than 30 million faith points. Compared with the more than 1 million spent now, the rate of return is astonishingly high. Lin Shao has never been short-sighted and only looks at immediate interests, and will never be stingy when it comes to giving. Hundreds of students stood sparsely on the huge golden platform, but the number was more than half less than before. All of them were students who passed the 3 eliminations and successfully advanced to the second year of high school. After passing the 3 eliminations, they are considered to be promoted to the second year of high school, and the following exams are just for class placement. There are only 17 students left in Class 1 and 3 of senior high school after the elimination of 3 levels, which is unexpectedly small. At this time, they are gathering in a group like other classes, waiting for the last few students to return. Wan Chuan and Yuan Hong were getting together at this time, and the other students were a few steps away from them. Yuan Hong looked ahead and pretended to ask casually, "How many did you kill in the half-elf level?" Wan Chuan glanced at him, and after a while he uttered 2 words. "No count. That's not much. Definitely more than you." "Cut. I am." A streak of golden light fell from the sky, indicating that someone who persisted to the limit in the endless mode was eliminated. At this moment, it attracted everyone's attention, and even the 2 of them didn't care to chat and turned their attention to it. The golden light fell on the platform, revealing a handsome boy, and most of the students were surprised. "Who is this? Which class? How come I've never seen it before?" Lin Xiao's previous grades were in the middle of the class and in the whole grade. The difference of 2 was 250. It can be said that he was quite ordinary. Except for his classmates, almost no one recognized him. Compared with the doubts of other students, the classmates in the same class were shocked, and Yuan Hong directly shouted, "This is impossible. He was eliminated in the endless mode. How could he not know how difficult the endless mode is, and what it means to persist longer than himself?" Because of this, he couldn't believe that this classmate who was in the middle of the class more than a month ago would surpass him so quickly. But this is the truth. When Lin Xiao came to the area of this class, several classmates subconsciously took a step back to make a space. He smiled slightly. "Thanks. The reality is this reality." Before the change, no one was ignoring him. Now he just came over and said nothing, and someone took the initiative to take the position. This is the difference. Turning his head to look at Yuan Hong and Wan Chuan, the suspicions in their eyes remained undisturbed. He nodded, and turned his head to ignore them. After a while, the 2 golden lights descended at the same time, revealing Yan Renji and Wan Ying. The 2 looked at each other with provocative eyes, turned and left. The 2 of them were the last to arrive. After returning to their class, each golden light group on the edge of the platform projected a golden light, turning into the projection of their respective class teacher, and they all bowed to the dazzling divine light ball on the dome. A golden light descended from the sky and turned into a handsome man, white-haired middle-aged man. The teachers and classmates bowed and bowed in unison, shouting in unison, "Your Excellency Vice Principal." The white-haired middle-aged man nodded, and said directly without any nonsense, "The elimination of the final exam of this year's high school has ended, and the remaining students have passed the test, and they will be promoted to the second year of high school next semester." After a pause, he suddenly changed his words and said, "Because of the old principle, there will be an additional endless mode test after the elimination of 3 levels this time. Stick to the last 10, and the 4th to 10th students will each be rewarded with a 5-star card of ordinary rarity, and you can choose the type of card arbitrarily. The 3rd place will get a rare quality 5-star card of any type. The 2nd place will get a rare quality 5-star card of any type. The 1st place will get an epic quality 5-star card, the same type is optional." Having said that, he glanced at all the students below and smiled slightly. In addition, the old principal will take out a place to participate in the summer camp for high school freshmen in Huasha district, and randomly assign it to one of the top 3 students. It wasn't an illusion. Lin Xiao clearly felt that Wan Chuan and Yuan Hong were breathing a little faster on the side. Looking at Yan Renji and Wan Ying on the other side, the 2 best geniuses in the whole class also showed expectant eyes. Lin Xiao knew why they were so looking forward to it, not for the ranking, nor for the reward cards, but for the participation in the summer camp for high school freshmen in the Huasha district. The so-called High School Super Freshman Summer Camp is a freshman activity jointly organized by 5 super colleges and 133 key colleges and universities in Huasha district, once a year. This thing does not say that if you participate, you can directly enter these key colleges, but the event is jointly organized by many key colleges, and elite talents are selected from high schools in the whole China region. Participating in the first year of high school can directly enter the site of these key colleges and universities. If you show enough potential to make them fancy, you can get certain bonus points when you apply for the corresponding key theaters after the third year of college entrance examination in the future. If the performance potential is high enough, maybe he can get a special call directly. Whether it is directly in the site of many key colleges, or the extra points in the college entrance examination, this is all tempting to them. Normally, there are only 1 or 2 places in a city for this super freshman summer camp, and all middle schools in the city need to compete for places before giving them to students. However, a disciple of the old principal of the 5th middle school where Lin Xiao is located is a big man in a super college, so he often can get a spot. Chapter 40 Rewards. Because of this, although the No. 5 middle school ranks 5th in Dongning City, its actual strength ranks 2nd in Dongning City, second only to the No. 1 middle school directly under the city. At this time, Vice President Xu Yundong continued. The top 10 rewards will be issued automatically, and you have 3 minutes to choose the 5-star card you want. As for the places for the super freshman summer camp, now at the old principal, the students who get places after the final exam will receive the official super freshman summer camp invitation card. As soon as the voice fell, a light curtain popped up in front of Lin Xiao's eyes, showing, "Congratulations to Lin Xiao, you have won the 3rd place in this extra endless mode. You can choose any 5-star rare card, or any 2 ordinary 5-star cards, please choose the type you want." Alternatively, he said immediately, "I want to. Your Excellency Vice Principal, I have a question to ask." Lin Xiao raised his head in surprise and saw that Yan Renji didn't look at his reward at all, and was looking at the Vice Principal asking. Xu Yundong looked at the class teachers on the left and right, and finally stopped on Zheng Yifan, the 2nd class teacher, and turned around and said, "What do you wish to ask?" "I want to ask Your Excellency the Vice Principal if he knows who has won this place." Lin Xiao raised his head in surprise, his eyebrows twitched, and in agreement with the Vice Principal Xu Yundong, the Vice Principal shook his head and said, "You'll find out after your final exam is over. Can't you tell me now?" The Vice Principal snorted and said with a smile, "The place is with the old principal, and the old principal didn't tell me. How do I know who the old principal gave the place to? If you have the time to ask this, it might be better to have a good performance in the next assessment, which may increase your chances of winning opportunities for places, rather than asking questions here." Speaking of which, it was already a bit harsh. Obviously, Yan Renji's untimely question made the Vice Principal a little unhappy. Lin Xiao watched Yan Renji retreat and shrugged his shoulders. There is no need to ask such a thing, and the school can do it according to the arrangement. It is estimated that he is used to being arrogant and dares to question the Vice Principal. Replaced with ordinary students, it is estimated that there will be no answers. Lin Xiao didn't pay too much attention to this so-called super freshman summer camp quota, and he couldn't take it seriously. After all, he was 3rd, and normally he wouldn't be able to get it. Instead of thinking about this, it's better to think about the next exam. Perform well and get good grades. After the final exam, go home and ask your parents for something good. Or after the final exams, when they are on vacation, go to the outland plain where their parents are located to play and see if they can get something good. When he came to his senses, he lowered his head. 2 cards. Lin Xiao hesitated for a moment. Basically, there are no good cards to choose from. For example, the occupation card he needs is at least a card of the legendary level. God's Domain card can be obtained, but the area added by the 5-star ordinary God's Domain card is too small, and it feels useless. There is no shortage of resources in God's Domain for the time being, or the resources that are useful to him now cannot be obtained by ordinary cards. Besides, what weapon cards, species cards, skills? Well, the skill card seems to be available. Lin Xiao has always felt that there is only one skill in the family. But when he searched for skills, he made a mistake, not because he had few skills, but because he had too many skills. The school has a special source of skills, and I dare not say that there are all kinds of skills, but there are quite a lot of types. There are hundreds of 5-star skill cards alone. From here, pick one that is suitable for Naga. He took a look. Time, just asked the Vice Principal. Yan Renji wasted a little time, now there is only more than a minute. After thinking about it, he first ruled out spells and long-range skills, and the number was reduced by more than half. Melee skills with a cooldown of more than 1 minute were excluded, and the number was reduced by half. With less than 100 remaining, he quickly glanced at it with a single glance and 10 lines. Based on his impression, he marked those that could be used first, and removed those that could not be used. Finally, he selected 13 skills. He was surprised to find that 5 functions overlapped with the salted fish thorn pass. In the end, there are 7 remaining skills, 4 passive skills and 3 active skills. The 3 active skills are Homeopathy LV1. Whenever a target is killed, the excess attack power is accumulated and superimposed on the next attack. Lien/LV1 attacks the same target twice in a row, consumes a small amount of stamina, and has a cooldown of 30 seconds. Acceleration LV1. Movement speed plus 20%, continuous consumption of stamina, cooling time for 1 minute. Heavy attack LV1. Charge the power to hit the enemy for 1 second, causing double damage. Depending on the weapon and attack method, there is a chance to cause additional effects. 5 passive skills. One-handed sword specialization LV1 improves the skill of using one-handed sword type weapons. Polearm specialization level 1 improves skill when using a polearm. Basic footwork LV1 improves footwork-related skills during combat. These are all 5-star cards. The biggest difference from the 2-star card thrust is that these skills can be upgraded, while thrust cannot be upgraded, so the skills are powerful but the card level is very low. The Black Scale Naga has no foundation now, and can only learn these skills. Lin Xiao glanced at it, and quickly selected 2 cards, namely Homeopathy / and Basic Footwork. Choosing Homeopathic / is in conjunction with the Salted Fish Stab skill. The Salted Fish Stab has 5 times the critical strike, and it is easy to drop the opponent in seconds. In many cases, extra damage will overflow. If there is a Homeopathic /, the extra damage will be superimposed on the next attack. That's great. If the enemy is not too strong, it is possible that after a charge, an additional enemy can be dropped in seconds, the stronger one. As for the basic footwork, the Naga can better evade attacks in melee combat. In fact, if he could, he would also like to collect long-handed weapons to specialize in this skill, as well as acceleration, continuous slashing, and heavy blows. Well, in fact, he wants all of them, but now he can only pick 2, or find a way to make up a set of cards in the future. Lin Xiao now has a very good idea to find some basic skills and fuse them into an ultra-rare all-weapon card. For example, one-handed swords, two-handed swords, one-handed hammers, two-handed hammers, one-handed axes, two-handed axes, daggers, long-handled weapons, fist weapons, etc. All the basic skills of all weapons are collected and merged into a full weapon basic skill card. Thinking about it, it must be very powerful. Put the 2 cards away and use them later. As soon as 3 minutes arrived, all 10 winners had been selected. To Lin Xiao's expectations, the vice principal did not announce the ranking. Only he knew his own ranking. Lin Xiao knew that he was ranked 3rd, but he did not know that the first was Yan. Renji is still whinnying. Endless mode looks at the number of kills, not who persists the longest, otherwise everyone won't have to fight, it's just procrastination. Therefore, although Lin Xiao returned in the 3rd from last, he did not necessarily rank 3rd. Of course, he was still very suspicious. This is a good thing for Lin Xiao and saves trouble.